They've been in so much pain and it's been fantastic. Yada yada, let's shove something up someone's butt. You know what I mean? I've never had a book like break my heart like this. Do I have to unfollow her on Instagram? Hey, hi, hello, Percy, welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? I have an exciting announcement. If you guys are watching this within the first week of this video going live around June 24th, 2024 or June 28th, 2024, I'm giving my book away for free. That's right, I am giving free ebook copies away of Adrift, my debut novel. Adrift, my debut novel. Completely for free. Why? I'm so glad you asked. Well, it's my birthday! And I thought it'd be a really fun way to celebrate, to give copies of my book away for free. There's no catch. All you need to do is have an Amazon Kindle account, which I know you bitches have. And you can download it completely for free from June 24th to June 28th. And now if you want to be extra lovely and give me a birthday present in the form of a review, well, who am I to say no? It's a small town, secret mermaid rom-com. It's a fun time. If you like any of the books that we are about to talk about, that might just be your jam. As always, link and blurb in the description. And as a total aside, if you guys do check it out and really like it, my next video is actually me going to visit the real-life town that inspired Adrift. So, a little sneak peek behind the scenes. Again, free book, June 24th through 28th. And blurb down in the description. Now, onto the video. Today, we're reading The Rainbow of Romance. What's that? I'm so glad you asked. I thought for Pride it'd be a really fun idea to read a series of gay as hell rom-coms, all different genres, all different types, each one corresponding with a color of the rainbow. Rainbow of Romance. And I tried to be as widespread as possible in the genres that I picked. I don't know how successful I was, but that's mostly because at the last minute, I decided to layer on another challenge to this challenge, which is making it a no-buy. I've been seeing a lot of like overconsumption in the book community, more than normal. Like I'm talking book hauls that are like this huge book hauls where the person not only buys the hardcovers but then goes and buys the audiobooks in order to listen to them at 3.5 times speed to read as many books as possible as like this weird bragging right of like, look how good of a book dragon I am. Anyway, I just thought it'd be a really fun layer to the challenge to make this, you know, you don't spend any money, to show that you can read a good number of books for free or next to free. And so how did I do that, you might ask? Well, I signed up for a free trial of Kindle Unlimited. I got 3 months completely for free, which Kindle Unlimited I think is like $11, which if you're buying a book a month, that's about the same price. So, and I read 3 books on Kindle Unlimited. So, you know, again, stretching the dollar. And then for everything else, the library! Support your local libraries. And so, without further ado, let's hop into book number 1, our red cover. Okay, maybe there's like one more thing. In the first few books, in the vlogging segments, you're probably going to hear TVs in the background for a few of the clips. I was dog sitting for my in-laws, and the babies needed to catch up on their shows. I don't know what to tell you. I tried to film around it. I didn't. So we are starting with Most Ardently. Beautiful, beautiful cover. Gorgeous. So this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling with a trans protagonist. So instead of Elizabeth, we have Oliver. And I chose this one very specifically because Pride and Prejudice is one of my favorite movies. I've read the book once in high school and I want to reread it. It's on my list of classics to read for this year. Most Ardently has also been on my list for a very long time. I'm very, very excited to read it. But I wanted to read the dedication, which to my trans siblings, we deserve romances that will sweep us off our feet too. That's why this book is for you. And I love that. I'm a very firm believer that everyone deserves to see themselves in a silly little rom-com, a silly little romance, to be swept off your feet and to enjoy the things that cisgender heteronormative people get to experience, you know? And the author's note says, Most Ardently is Oliver's story, and in some ways, it is mine as well. And you'll find in these pages a trans boy who has not yet come out to his family, navigating a cis heteronormative society. The nature of the story means that Oliver's dead name is used repeatedly. He frequently expresses dysmorphia, and he is misgendered by characters in this book, though never by the narrative. For many of us, these are wounds that can be painful to revisit, so while I did my best to broach these difficult moments with empathy, you know what you can handle best. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single boy in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a future wife, unless that boy was Oliver Bennett. We already have a twist, and I'm so excited. That is such a fun way to open the book. But yeah, I'm excited. Again, it's been on my list for a while. I know I love the story already, and so I'm very excited to see it with a different narrator. I'm very excited to see it through a new lens. It is on Kindle Unlimited, so if you have Kindle Unlimited and this one speaks to you, give it a read. Hopefully I can read it all today. I also think it's going to be a nice reprieve. I have a class I have to go to for chronic pain today, which is my first time going, so that's going to take a lot of mental space. And then after that, I immediately go into therapy, so I'm going to be a puddle. So yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping this book will give me, you know, a good amount of reprieve after all that emotional and physical exertion. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm just really happy to be doing this. I love words. I love books. Okay, so therapy done. Movement class done. I am so tired. But I'm okay. I'm good. I've been reading for, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, not too long. And I really like it so far. It's very sweet. Again, Pride and Prejudice, the 2005, I want to say, with Keira Knightley, is one of my favorite movies. So it feels comforting and familiar enough in that sense, where everyone else besides Oliver, my brain just plucked them from the movie. And then with Oliver, I do just see the person on the cover. And then with Oliver, he genuinely feels like a new, different character. And I do just see him. So that's super nice. It's giving me everything that I needed. It's so sweet already. And it's not written in the same exact vernacular that Pride and Prejudice is written in. It's not very like chewy. You don't have to chew it, but it does have all the lines. It has the good ones. You know the ones I'm talking about if you're a Pride and Prejudice fan. It's very easygoing, very fun read so far. Again, I'm not very far into it. I'm only like 3 chapters in, but I like it a lot already. I'm just a happy bee. I'm tired, but I'm happy to be reading, so.
This time is fully paid.
Excuse me. I have some friends I want you to meet, darling.
So Oliver has been caught by his dad. So he sneaks out, you know, dressed as himself, and he comes back home by climbing up a trellis to get back into his and Jane's room, and he gets caught. He has to tell his dad, you know, I'm Oliver, I'm your son, and his dad is just really happy, and he goes, you don't think this is the first time I've seen you climbing up and down the trellis outside my office window, which, it's precious. And I like that Mr. Bennett immediately just accepts Oliver as he is. It just makes a lot of sense, and it's very sweet. And they're like, we're not gonna tell Mom just yet. We will. I'll be there. I'll be there when you do. But let's just wait just like a little bit longer, which I like. I think it's very cute.
She's gone, and Vanessa had to go out of town, so I don't know if she even knows about it.
This is what I'm very curious about when it comes to how this book is gonna end with Oliver being trans. Actually, I'm gonna highlight all of that. I'm super curious how this is gonna be resolved. So we finished Most Ardently. Gorgeous, gorgeous cover. Again, deserves a spot. So we finished Most Ardently, and I think I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I'm just gonna read to you what I said to my friend last night, because I know she was really excited for me to read this. She really wanted to know, and she's the reason why I actually had this on my radar. So I immediately texted her. So I said, I really like Oliver. I really like that he feels real enough to stand in the shoes of the original Elizabeth Bennet and still feel so entirely his own. So much so that when people call him Elizabeth, I'm like, who? Because that's my boy, buddy. I love him. That being said, I don't think it counts as a Pride and Prejudice retelling, which it says remix on the cover, and I think that's more appropriate. It doesn't have the weight and longing of the original, which is the important part, in my opinion.
You can clearly see what moments and what scenes in the original inspired this one, and you can almost see where the author saw themselves in the character of Elizabeth. But unfortunately, Darcy and their relationship falls flat, and I think it's because in the original it's more than just misunderstandings, and here it feels like a couple misunderstandings here and there. It feels like it would almost be a more appropriate Mulan retelling. And I said, the author states in the dedication to their fellow trans siblings who deserve a romance story that sweeps them off their feet, and I hate to say it, but I'm not seeing a lot of sweeping happening. And I pretty much stand by that. I do think the romance is very sweet. I like seeing them fall in love. But again, there's no drama. There's no... I'm not being swept. I'm just being gently guided. But I really like Oliver. I think the remix is compelling and it's interesting. But yeah, it does fall a little flat for me personally. And I think my favorite parts are the parts where Oliver is having like this introspective growth of what it means to be trans and slowly outgrowing the skin he was born into and having to face, at what point have I grown too much? At what point like have I grown too much, and it has to come out, you know? So at the end, him and Darcy, they don't get married, but they are like together. They're boyfriends, which again, very, very cute. And he ends up coming out to his family. So like one of the main differences is here Wickham and Collins end up working together. So Wickham doesn't marry Kitty. He is still like kind of a piece of shit. He did still like try to seduce Regina and just try to like grift, but it's like a much more like toned down, like the misunderstanding that he tells Oliver, thinking that Oliver is Elizabeth. He tells him that like Darcy hates women and that's the problem, and not like the financial trickery of it all, which like, oh, he hates women. It's like, okay, most men do, you know what I mean? Like that didn't hit for me personally. And then at the end, you know, Wickham tries to propose to Elizabeth, thinking it's Oliver. Oliver is like, hey, go fuck yourself, no. And Oliver is like never charmed by Wickham whatsoever. He always thinks that he's kind of grimy and gross. And then, you know, Collins, same thing, tries to propose to Elizabeth, and Oliver is like, I hate you, actually. You make my skin crawl and you make me want to die, so no thank you. And at the very end, Wickham finds out that Elizabeth is actually Oliver. Like he sees, like at one point Wickham met Oliver just out on the town, and he then comes to call on Elizabeth and sees Oliver at home, you know, trying to be comfortable in his own skin by wearing trousers and a blouse instead of a dress. So he puts two and two together. So at the very, very end, Colin and Wickham work together to try to blackmail Oliver with the threat of, we're gonna tell your family that you're a boy, unless you marry Wickham and be a girl the rest of your life. And Oliver is like, you're threatened by me taking the inheritance. I have to go run and tell my family right now. And that's like how it ends. Like Oliver goes and tells his family, and his dad is supportive of him the entire time, and he ends up telling his mom, and his mom is like shocked, but he's like immediately supportive, which we'll talk about in a second. And then, you know, Oliver tells his parents, this is what Wickham and Colin are doing, and everyone's like, get out the house, fuck you. And his dad is like, I'm going to rewrite my will so my son gets the house, because we have a son. And the entire time, Mr. Bennett, the father, is, or was, like, talking to the physician that delivered the baby, baby Oliver. He was talking to the physician that delivered baby Oliver and all the babies, and basically telling him, hey, you delivered a boy, right? The physician's like, you're so right, bestie, I did deliver a boy. My bad, I miswrote it, you know? Just have like some sort of like documentation, you know what I mean? And that's kind of how it ends. And Oliver inherits Longbourn, and then he has a cute boyfriend, and they go to the local Molly house, which a Molly house is a queer safe space, which I actually like, and I assumed it was historically accurate. I didn't look into it, but there's a historical note at the very end, which I will read parts of to you In the early 1800s, being queer was not strictly speaking illegal. However, sodomy laws very much existed, which still frequently endangered queer men. Until 1828, the burden of proof was incredibly high, requiring multiple witnesses. The Regency era was sort of an in-between period. In the era before, it was quite common for people to be openly queer, but in the era after, the Victorian era, that all ended. Nevertheless, even in the eras where it was, comparatively, safest to be openly queer, queer men were still expected to marry women and have children, and queer women were expected to do the same with men. As for molly houses, they were indeed a part of England's queer culture in Oliver's time. The name itself, Molly House, came from the term molly, which was slang for an effeminate man that was sometimes used as a slur, and sometimes used as a common noun. While some amount of sex and possible sex work took place at some molly houses, others were more like clubs, some of which were known to host early versions of drag balls, or coffee houses, like the one Oliver attends. So I thought that was a really cool thing, that a part of Oliver and Darcy's love story was they met as just fellow gentlemen out and about, you know, at a local fair, and then Oliver ends up learning about a local molly house, and as he's coming to terms with his own trans identity, he's like, no, this is who I am, this is who I want to present to the world, he builds up the courage to go to the local molly house, the local little like molly coffee house, and he meets Darcy, and they end up sparking a romance. And they dance and they kiss, and it's cute. I really liked that aspect personally, and I thought it was nice to have the historical note at the end, because also it goes on to talk about how the author, he addresses what, I want to make sure I have this man's name right. And so the author, Gabe Cole Novoa, he's a Latinx trans masculine author who writes speculative fiction featuring marginalized characters grappling with identity. We love to see it. So Mr. Novoa, Gabe, my boy, he takes a moment to address, like, could Oliver have inherited Longbourn? Because what I thought was going to happen was Oliver was going to marry Darcy as Elizabeth and then lead like this double life where Oliver at home, Oliver in private, and then Elizabeth to the rest of the world, and kind of coming to terms with society doesn't accept me, but, you know, and coming out to his family, but society doesn't affect me, but still reveling in safe spaces, and that love still exists in a hard world. That's what I thought was going to happen. But what actually happened is Oliver inherits Longbourn. His dad changes the will and he inherits it, and so he's the next Mr. Bennet, which I actually really liked. I was a little hesitant about it because I was like, well, how could he have inherited Longbourn? That doesn't feel correct. But Mr. Gabe Noah makes a really good point that I think is very important. He says, ultimately, I think it'd be very difficult to say with any certainty whether or not a trans man in Oliver's position had ever successfully inherited property, in large part because if it did happen, it'd be because the law recognized him as a man and wouldn't have taken note of his transness. Interestingly, birth certificates didn't exist in England until July 1st, 1837, so there wouldn't have been any record of Oliver being mistaken as a girl at birth. At the end of the day, many of the historical trans people we know about because their transness was discovered, often though not always, after death. I like to think there are plenty of trans people we don't know about who live their lives as themselves without being outed. And I think that's a very fair point. And the second I read that, I was like, no, that makes sense. With the father's backing, with the mother's backing, with the sister's backing, with the physician's backing, I do think Oliver could inherit Longbourn. I think that is a very satisfying end to his story, and then, you know, having his love, Darcy, you know, getting the best of both worlds. I just don't like how it happened. You know what I mean? Like, I wish, it feels like it all happened at the very end, and I wish that it happened kind of more throughout the story. Like, I almost wish that his mother found out earlier, because to me it makes sense that Mr. Bennet is supportive. That makes a lot of sense to me. But Mrs. Bennet, who has been so claws in to her daughters, trying to make them wonderful young women, respectable young ladies, to get married to a good household, to the social standings and everything. I wish we could have seen Mrs. Bennet struggle more. I want her to accept Oliver. I want her to be like, no, you are my son. but I wanted to see her struggle, even if it was for comedic effect. You know, she says a line when she finds out. She goes, well, I guess it all makes sense, you know, your abhorrence to dresses. And I'm like, see, that's funny. That's cute. I wanted more of that. So for it to all happen at the end, that everything works out, I was like, oh, it's a little unsatisfying. It makes sense. I like it. It's just a little unsatisfying. And I think that's the best way I can sum up this book. I like it. I like the content. I like the characters. I like it. It's just a little unsatisfying. It needs a little bit more oomph. And I don't mean that as a Pride and Prejudice remix, that it needs more drama. I mean as a story in general. It feels like I just read a nice little story. And that's fine. But unfortunately, it almost feels forgettable. I also love that he inherits Longbourn. I almost wish the story was about that. You know, like, his mother finds out very early, she's grappling but she's dealing, and now the entire family is scheming to, in the eyes of the public, have Oliver inherit Longbourn. Because that's the thing I think that isn't talked about. They're in society. People know the family. People know the Bennett family. They're not super high. They're not in high society. You know what I mean? But they are in society. And so, suddenly, hey, we have a son. He's been here the entire time. Well, where did Elizabeth go? Shut the fuck up, we have a son. You know, like, that would have social repercussions. People would talk. And, you know, things would go about. And with the family standing behind Oliver, being like, nope, this is our boy. I think that could have been very interesting to kind of unravel the social fallout of that. And then having Darcy on his side as a higher standing individual being like, no, this is my boy, this is my best friend. You know, how does that affect society? I think I just want more because I like Oliver so much. And so the question I always ask with any sort of retelling or remix of a classic story or a fable or a fairy tale is this story held back by its retelling status? Should it have been a standalone story so it had more freedom to kind of go in any direction? It's a little harder with this one. Most cases I can have a very firm yes or no answer to that question. But for this instance, I think if we have a Venn diagram of enhance or held back, it's weirdly in the middle. And I say that because, one, it gets the story read. The fact that it's a retelling gets the story read. That's how I came to know about it. Because I love Pride and Prejudice, and a friend said, hey, look what I just found. And then I saw the cover, and I was like, oh, that's right up my alley, baby. And so, in that way, it's beneficial. It gets the story in front of people's eyes. Is it hurt by being a retelling? Maybe, just because there are certain beats that it felt like the story had to hit to like still be considered a Pride and Prejudice remixes, a Pride and Prejudice remix. But at the end of the day, I think it's fine. I just think it's fine. It's a fine book. It's a fun read. I read it in a day. It's not very long. And if you have like Bridgerton crash, well, it might be the book for you. 3 out of 5. Love Oliver. It's cute. It's a little day read. It's fun. It's a fun book. That's it. Alright, on to the next. So the next book on my list is Felix Ever After. This is our orange book. I have it as an audiobook, and I did get this from the library. I got most of our books from the library or Kindle Unlimited. But yeah, I got it from the library. It is 8 hours. And I've heard a lot of good things about this. I remember when it came out, I saw the cover everywhere. So I'm very excited to jump in. Unfortunately, then I can't highlight things, but I'm still going to take notes. So yeah, Felix Ever After by Kaysen Calendier. Felix Love has never been in love, and yes, he's painfully aware of the irony. He desperately wants to know what it's like and why it seems so easy for everyone but him to find someone. What's worse is that, even though he is proud of his identity, Felix also secretly fears that he is one marginalization too many, black, queer, and transgender, to ever get his happily ever after. When an anonymous student begins sending him transphobic messages after publicly posting Felix's dead name alongside images of him before he transitioned, Felix comes up with a plan for revenge. What he didn't count on, his catfish scenario landing him in a quasi-love triangle. Okay, I'm stopping there. I'm so excited. That sounds like so much fun. Okay. Okay, let's go. I'm fucking gagged, dude. Okay, so love the book so far. I'm like 45 minutes in. There's so much personality in Felix's voice. I love him so much. And so Felix is like this poor kid in New York. I'm not waiting for that to focus. He's a poor kid in New York. He's going to like a summer program to try to get into a good college, and his dad is like barely making it by, and he hasn't heard from his mom because his mom left the family to go start another one with some other guy. Oh my god. I love Felix. And there is like some tension because his dad is like will still detonate him every now and then, or use the wrong pronouns, and apparently when he gets drunk he's like, oh, you'll always be my daughter, and it's just I love Felix. Oh, hello, it's me. You know how in the description it said that I'm making quesadillas. I'm heating up tortillas to make quesadillas. But in the description it said that there was like transphobic notes, I think it said. Oh my, it's so much worse. It's not just notes. Well, okay. Yeah, no, it's not just notes. It's all the photos that he had on his Instagram that were privated, that happened before he transitioned. The photos that he didn't delete for his parents' sake, for his dad's sake, who loves him, but still wants memories of him like as a child, you know. So these very deeply private moments with private information have been printed and framed at the summer program that he's at, like the school summer program that he's at. And he is just gobsmacked, and I'm gobsmacked personally. Fuck, dude. Oh my god. See, this is the drama I needed the most ardently. I needed it to hit. This fucking hit. Oh my god. I'm also leaning over. 1, for framing. 2, my back fucking hurts. This entire back section fucking hurts. Also, something that just fucking hits you in the face. Felix went on a date with a girl called Marisol. I think Marisol, and fucking, it's not Maeve, no, it's probably Marisol, and fucking, he has a crush on her, wants to go on a date. He hasn't dated much, especially not as Felix, and she, you know, she's a little more experienced. They're 17, so experienced, and she tells him, yeah, I don't know why I can't like get into you, like why I don't like you, and I think I finally figured it out. It's because you're not a feminist. And he's like, what? What do you mean? Like going back in his mind thinking, like, did I say something wrong? Did I say anything that could be like misogynistic on accident? And she goes, yeah, well, someone who would hate being a woman so much that they want to be a man obviously has to be misogynistic, because they hate women. Obviously, they think it's better to be a man. And I was like, fuck, dude. Fuck. That's good writing. Make it hurt. Make it hurt. I didn't pay money for this, but I still should hurt. Oh my god. I mean, my taxes paid money for it. It's the library, but oh my god. I paid money for this. It should hurt. Jesus Christ. We're only 45 minutes in, dude. Okay. Fuck. Okay. I am a fundamentally, like, different person after finishing Felix Ever After. It is such a good book. How do I even go about telling the story? I wanted to film more clips, like, as I was reading to get my live reactions, and I just got too into it. I just got way too into it. It was an 8-hour long audiobook, and I started it today at like 10. It is currently about 7. Yeah, I listened to it on double speed, and I couldn't do anything but focus on it. I couldn't put it down. I maybe had like a couple minutes here and there, like talking to my partner when I got home from work, taking a class like that I had to take today, like things like that. But other than that, I was just glued in on this fucking book. It is so good. So okay, Felix Love is a young man who, he's in the summer intensive program to try to get a scholarship to go to Brown. If you don't know what Brown is an Ivy League university in the United States. Ivy League, top of the top. My friend went to an Ivy League, by the way. I didn't. I went to art school, but my best friend went, and we are proud of her. But I will find any reason to slip my best friend into a conversation. I think there's a dog who needs attention. Come over here, bud. Or do that. This is Buddy. He is the oldest dog in the house currently, and he is the most agile. He can't be alone. He will eat anything in a trash can. So he must be supervised at all times. Anyway, so Felix, he's a painter, and he wants to fall in love. He's never been in love, and he wants to know what it's like. His name's Felix Love. But so he's dealing with these feelings of never being in love, of questioning his identity. He knows that he is a trans boy. He knows he's a boy, he's not a girl. But even sometimes, like, even boy doesn't feel quite right. So he's dealing with his, like, gender identity, and what does that mean? And then also wanting to fall in love, but how can he fall in love when he doesn't super know who he is? So that's all happening on the inside. On the outside, he is competing with this boy named Devlin. They're both competing for the same scholarship. Devlin is Felix's best friend. Ezra, it's his ex-boyfriend, so they don't get along. And on top of that, someone, to go into the school, there's this big gallery space where things are showcased. So right now it's empty because it's the summer. And one day, Ezra and Felix, they go in to school, and plastered along the walls are pictures of Felix before he transitioned, along with Felix's dead name. We start out fucking swinging, my dude. And Felix obviously is having like a whole panic attack about it. Like, these pictures that he didn't even want them to exist, and oh my god, it's so upsetting. But he's doing that, and in that, he creates a fake Instagram account. He's like, oh, I think I know who it is. He's like, I'm gonna make this fake Instagram account to try to weed him out. And he starts talking to the guy who he thinks it's Devlin, and fucking him and Devlin, he finds out it's not Devlin. Let me make this very clear, it's not Devlin. Devlin's like, the person who did that is fucking evil. Like, that is such a fucked up thing to do. Not Devlin. They start fucking falling in love. They start talking. They start flirting. Devlin falls in love with him. Oh my god. And so while that's all happening, their friend group is like getting turned over because Ezra brought in a new guy named Austin. He is Leah's second cousin. And then there's Marigold and Hazel. And so their friend group is starting to, like, this new person's coming in. It's getting kind of weird. Also, Marigold, not Marigold, Marisol. Oh my god. Marisol is like a piece of shit. The book does not pull its punches. Absolutely, it does not pull its punches. Oh my god. And so tensions are flying high here. Leah is like, hey, I want to be friends with you, Felix. I want to help you. I want to help you find out who did the gallery. And it's just, there's so many interpersonal connections in this story. Oh my god. Like, I don't even think I could do it justice to even sit here and tell you everything. I'm not very good at summarizing things, if you haven't noticed. Also, I'm losing the light, so I'm trying to be as quick as possible. But, Felix, the entire time, is questioning his self-identity and also his self-worth. How other people view him and how does that make him feel. He's 17, so that makes, like, a lot of sense. But he is putting a lot of value on other people's opinions and other people's critiques on him, like, as a person and as an artist. And it's so interesting to kind of see it. You know, I said something really smart to my partner about this. I really thought I wasn't recording. I should just record when I talk to my partner. But my brain is so jumbled, dude. It could feel a little bit preachy at times, but I say that with a huge caveat because I am from the Bay Area. I grew up going to San Francisco regularly. I spent a lot of time in San Francisco. I went to school in San Francisco. All my family worked in San Francisco. So I am not naive to the transphobia that exists even within the queer community. And for that, I think it feels very preachy to me. I think to anyone else who is trans or even questioning, I think it could be incredibly validating. It deals with
the idea of love and identity and self-worth in a way that I think is incredibly important to people of any age. This is a YA book, and I think if I had found this in high school or even college, I would recommend it to everyone I know. I am almost 28 years old, and in reading Felix Ever After, it still found ways to validate my feelings in like my life choices and in this transitional stage of my life, you know, dealing looking down the barrel of the gun of someone asking, what are you doing with the rest of your life, you know? And so I can only imagine how validating it would be for someone who is 17, who is 15. I'm losing the light so incredibly quickly. Okay, I turned on the only light that wouldn't give me like awful shadows on my face so I could talk to you and not have it be distracting. Am I squatting? Yes. It takes a special kind of book to speak to your soul when in your soul there's almost nothing to do with what's going on in the book. You know what I mean? It spoke to universal themes of feeling loss, of looking for acceptance, of looking for guidance in this world, and how desperately I wanted to hug Felix and tell him it was going to be all okay, as someone who's just like, you know, 10 years older than him and still kind of dealing with similar issues. Again, not with gender or sexuality, but with identity as a whole. There's just so much heart. And I didn't finish the summary, I'm so sorry. There's just so much I want to talk about, and I find myself kind of getting pulled in so many different directions of what I want to talk about this, and we don't have time. This is a short video. Like, it even talks about like having toxic relationships and loving someone, but loving the idea of them and love versus loving them, and trying to love what someone who doesn't love you and what you can't have versus what you should have versus what you can't have. It's such, oh my god, there's a photo behind me. It's such a good book, guys. It's so good. It's such a good book, and I'm dying. I need more people to read it so we can talk about it. If you read Felix Ever After, please comment it down below, and if you have not read Felix Ever After and it feels like your jam, read it. It is just so all-encompassing, what it means to be alive, what it means to be human, what it means to love. I wanted to rush in. I thought this would be like an easy quick clip to film because I had so many thoughts I just needed to get out, needed to tell someone, and I wanted to tell you guys specifically, and then I realized trying to get everything out of your mouth at once kind of creates a traffic jam, and that's where we stand. But yeah, it literally ends with two boys kissing at Pride while the parade stops to give them a moment to kiss, and everyone's cheering and people are throwing glitter and they're running in the streets and they're proclaiming their love, and I fucking lost it. That shouldn't work, but it did. Ah! That shouldn't work, but it did. Fuck, it did. I was go fucking read this book. So I tried very hard to talk about Felix Ever After last night, and I don't think I did a very good job, and for that, I am sorry. A lot came out of my mouth, but I just want to make sure I like got my final thoughts in here. Felix Ever After is a 5 out of 5 for me, personally. I think it is such a great book. I need my phone. So this book talks a lot about what it means to be trans, what it means to question your identity, and the thing that I especially appreciated was that it touches on the transphobia that still exists in queer spaces and the racism that can still exist in queer spaces, and this idea of just because you think you understand something doesn't mean that you do because you haven't lived it. And I fucking love that. I think it handles it with a lot of grace as well. And it takes this like really important messaging, this really important validating thesis, not even a thesis, but like life experience, and it puts it into the story that is funny and sweet and endearing. Like from page 1, I burst out laughing. I immediately loved Felix, and I was going to ride or die for my boy, and I was so emotionally invested
in him and his friends like finding love and figuring it out, and it took me back to being 17 and feeling those same pressures in high school. It's like, okay, well, what do I do now? I have to figure out the rest of my life at 17, which is just not fair thing to do, to ask someone to do. And it made me miss my best friend because we went to high school together. It made me miss her so much. I just wanted to sit down and have lunch and talk with her. And I'm crying again. And I don't know, being 28 and picking up this book and immediately feel like 17 again, and immediately resonating with those feelings of uncertainty and those feelings of figuring it out and those feelings of, hey, you got the rest of your life ahead of you. Even at 28, to have those feelings brought up in me and feel them just as strongly as I do now, as I did then, it's like, oh my god, why am I crying? I think I'm gonna start my period soon. I'm not crying, you're crying, shut up. But I wasn't sure if I got all those feelings. I wasn't sure if I got all those feelings out last night, and I wanted to make sure I got them on camera. Editing Percy is gonna be based because there's so much footage for feelings ever after of me just going and stating the same thing over and over, trying to get it out, but just having like a traffic jam in my mouth. But yeah, I'm now rating these books as of right now. And Felix is, I will rearrange this as we read more books, but right now Felix is at number 1 and Most Ardently is at number 5. 1 and 5. There are more than 5. How many books do I have? 8? Felix is number 1 and Most Ardently is at the bottom. All this to say. Anyway, next we're reading our yellow book, which is not called Happily Ever After. It's not called Happy Place. Wild Things. Why did I have the word happy stuck in my mind? It's called Wild Things by Laura Kay. I am doing another audiobook. I'm doing another audiobook because I got it from the library and that's what was available. So Wild Things by Laura Kay. 2 best friends. 1 huge crush. A year that could change everything. A warm-hearted, hilarious, queer rom-com about what happens when a group of friends are actually brave enough to live the dream and give up their Drury City apartment to buy a house in the country together. We love to see it. Real Emily Henry vibes, but gay. So maybe that's absolutely not why I had Emily Henry in my head, but love that. Elle is in a rut. She's been hiding in the photocopy room at the same dead-end job for longer than she cares to remember. She's sharing a flat with a girl who leaves passive-aggressive smiley face notes on the fridge about milk consumption, and worst of all, she's been in unrequired love with her best friend, effortlessly cool lesbian Ray, for years. That is a huge sentence, and my mouth couldn't take it. So when a plan is hatched for Elle, Ray, and their 2 other close friends, newly heartbroken Will and karaoke and Twilight superfan Jamie, to ditch the big city and move out to a ramshackle house on the edge of the English countryside. On the edge of an English country village, it feels just like the escape she needs. Despite being the DIY challenge of a lifetime, the newly named Lavender House has all the makings of becoming the queer commune of the friends' dreams. Will has been given a pass as the gang's token straight. But as they start plotting their bright new future and making preparations for a grand housewarming party to thank the surprisingly but wonderfully welcoming community, Elle is forced to confront her feelings for Ray, the feelings that she's been desperately trying to keep buried. Is it worth ruining a perfectly good friendship for a chance at love? I'm so excited for this book, mostly because my best friend, the one who I talk about all the time, the one who went to an Ivy League, love of my life, her girlfriend, Wub, and I we constantly joke about running away and starting a commune together. And especially with Wub, who has hair that looks like Jesus. He already looks like a cult leader. And so we joke that, you know, we're gonna start this commune. Someone's gonna rock up and be like, you're a cult. And they're just gonna find one incredibly devoted man to his partner. And a bunch of like really well-educated lesbians. And then they have friends who would want to join. And again, the word just keeps spreading and we keep getting more lesbians. And so all this to say, this book really spoke to me and I'm really excited to read it. All right, book 3, let's go. I don't have my tripod and my hair is up, so I finished chapter 1 of Wild Things. There's no reason for me to be like personally attacked by the main character. Elle is a bisexual, journaling, homebody queen, and I love her. But the book starts out with her in a threesome in an effort to like have an exciting year. She has to do like 12 crazy things in the year, like a crazy thing a month. I just realized the TV is still on. I have muted the TV. I cannot mute the snoring dog. Yeah, like what the fuck? I think that is such a funny way to start a book, is like her awkwardly sitting off the side being like, what do I do? What do I do? I don't know what to do, in a threesome. That's so funny. She then goes home and journals about it, and she's like brave thing number 4, threesome, would not recommend. I love her. I love her. But yeah, so that's our girl Elle. We've met Ray as well, who is her best friend that she's in love with. And she's cute so far. We haven't met much of her. And this is being told from Elle's point of view, so we just see how Elle feels about her, but we haven't seen much of Ramona in general. She just seems cool, a cool girl, if you will. And yeah, I think those are the important parts. They're gonna go camping this weekend. And yeah, I'm excited to see Friends to Lovers. How are 3 books in a row Friends to Lovers? Because most Ardently, Oliver and Darcy became friends. In Felix Ever After, he falls in love with his best friend because he learns what love is. So sweet. And then now Wild Things, that's like her best friend that she's in love with. I'm not in love with my best friend personally. Love of my life. Yeah, lots of personality so far. Very excited. And I'm really, there are a few books on here that I'm extremely excited for, and this is one of them. So far so good. Okay, so I came into the bedroom because I needed to come get my medication, but we just started chapter 4. We're wasting no time. They're out camping. It is Ray, Elle, Jay, who is like their gay bestie, and Will, who he's their straight friend, like I said, the token straight, and his girlfriend just dumped him, and his grandma died. Apparently his grandma dying wasn't enough for his girlfriend to not break up with him the same week, which is a wild thing to say. But no, so he's been depressed, he's been living on the sofa, and one of my favorite lines so far of the book is Ray, Will and Ray are housemates, is Ray going, yeah, no, he's living on the sofa and he's just eating Maltesers, but not the kind in the bag, the kind in the box, but he doesn't leave the house, so I don't know where they're coming from. And that's so fucking funny. But anyway, they're all at camping. None of these babes know how to camp, and that's okay. Will, my heartbroken boy, he brings up that him and Melissa, they were looking at a house. They're looking at this old house in the English countryside, and his grandma left him money, so it was enough to do the deposit, but he can't get the mortgage because with one salary he doesn't make enough money. And Jesse or Jay, this is why I write the names down, but I left my notebook over there. The gay bestie is like, well, what about 4 of us? And I love that we're on chapter 4 and we do not waste time into jumping in to getting the house. I'm so fucking ready. I'm so fucking ready. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm having a good time. I've laughed out loud multiple times already, and it's giving me the longing that I want. I'm gonna go and take my medication and have a little snack. Elle was eating crackers and cheese. I'm gonna go to crackers and cheese, and we're gonna get right back to it. Hello. So it's a new day, new location. I am back home from my partner's house, and we're gonna finish Wild Things today. I am 42% of the way in, and I'm liking it so far. I pulled out the camera because I wanted to say this now. I hope my girl Elle ends up with Rachel, or at least dates Rachel. So I don't know if I mentioned this. Elle is in love with her best friend Ray, and Ray, I think, has feelings for Elle personally, which I think, okay, best friends to lovers, with one best friend being hopelessly in love with the other,
while that friend also reciprocates feelings, but for some reason or another is not saying that they reciprocate feelings, and thus miscommunication happens, and then eventually everything has to come to a head. I think so far Wild Things is doing it better than Love Light Farms did, which breaks my heart because I fucking love Love Light Farms. Ah! I have such beef with that book. I love that book. I need to read the others in that series because I love that book. I just did not like Luca. Anyway, I think all this to say, I think this one is doing it better because we do get more moments of Ray hinting that she reciprocates feelings but doesn't want to say anything because Elle originally was dating someone else and was dating a man. Like, long-term relationship with a man. And even though Ray knows that she's bisexual, it's still like, you were dating someone else, and so I moved on and I always kind of held a flame for you. And like, in actions that are happening, I could believe that Ray is holding a bit of a flame for Elle. All this to say. And then there's this moment where they're under the bed and they're looking at each other and there's this really longing look and it's very sweet. And yeah, they're both doing the thing of, you can't possibly like me, and just like casually holding a flame. Although I will say Elle holding a flame is a little sad because she is like, how I long to be the coffee cup in Ray's fingers. Which is insane. So it's a little more desperate and it's a little more sad, and my girl deserves more. So I want her to date Rachel. I want Rachel to pursue her. I want her to get like a little girlfriend. And you know, she can still end up with Ray at the end or whatever. This is a romance novel after all. But I just want her to like, I want her to be loved. I want my girl to be loved. That was a lot at you all at once, so sorry. By the way, I made my best friend read this because I thought it'd be right up her alley. I know you're watching, and I hope that you were falling asleep and I just woke you up. And so I made her read it, and this is a 9-hour book. That bitch finished it in 2 hours.
To my hands and knees to try to pick up the glass, my back turned to them. I start sweeping shards with my bare hands, tiny crystals lodging themselves in my palms. I know I should stop, but I just feel that if I can clear it up quickly, I can get rid of any evidence that I was ever here. I can disappear. Elle, Ray says, her voice much closer now, right behind me. Fuck, Elle, stop it.
You know, I said I wanted Rachel to kiss Elle, and then they weren't going to because they already had a boyfriend that they're not together anymore because he cheated, and I should have seen this coming, honestly. I set myself up for this. Ray kisses Rachel because of course she does. This sounds mean. I'm not saying anything against Ray or Rachel, but it's just like, of course the thing I wanted to happen didn't happen. And now Elle is sad. Yay! Okay, Wild Things is done. Fuck, dude. I really liked it. I cried. I really liked it. Yeah, it really is what it says on the tin. So, I know Chapel Roan is everywhere right now, as she should be, by the way. I love Chapel Roan. This book reminds me about the song Kaleidoscope, where it compares love to a kaleidoscope. Kind of twisting and turning and changing, but always staying the same, and that love is not, you have 15 minutes before your food goes off, mama. I love that song. It's one of mine and my partner's favorite songs on the album. I do not think it gets the love that it deserves. It's my favorite song because I love the metaphor and I think it's beautifully written and beautifully sung. It's my partner's favorite song because every time she says that I don't know how it works, he goes, it's fucking mirrors. So take that as you will. Anyway, this book reminds me so much of that song. That same beautifully like sad and heartbroken melody of love is a kaleidoscope. It reminds me of that song, but happy because it has a happy ending. And also I think it reminds me of that song in aspects to all the different relationships that happen throughout the book. Elle kind of learns that at the beginning she starts all encompassed and all encompassed and haunted by Ray, by this idea of Ray, what she can't have, this wonderful person just outside of her reach, basically, you know, her best friend that she can never ever say anything to because she kind of has this not like overtly low opinion of herself, but like a slightly low opinion of herself, which
I think is very compelling because she is, it's not that she thinks poorly of herself, it's that she holds Ray to such a high esteem. And I'm like, that's fun. That's sad, but that's good. Ooh, it hurts. Yay! You know what I mean? I love that. I want my book to hurt me. Although I didn't pay money for this, I got it from the library, support your local libraries, but the sentiment still stands. Hurt me. Hurt me dearly. And so I think the thing that I love most about this book is that Elle not only kind of has to come to terms with, you know, what she thinks about herself and what she thinks about Ray and what does that mean, but also with like her brother and her parents and her friends, and how do those different relationships kind of impact her, and how the love is different there, but it's love across the board, you know, the feeling of home, the feeling of belonging, the feeling of love is more than this all-encompassing, haunting feeling that Ray gives her. And only when she kind of comes to terms with that, and only when she's had the space to kind of grapple with that and look at love in these different lenses and look at herself and the love she has for herself, and only then, when she brings Ray almost down to earth in her own mind, only then does the relationship work, because obviously Ray has also held a flame for Elle this entire time, and Elle never saw it because she thought Ray was all the way up here, and she could never feel that way. And it's just it's so good. I love it. I love it. And I love that Elle, she just gets like a reality check, you know? And I think that's lovely. I just think it's really lovely. And I love the village where they live. There's another gay couple, Wraith and Jim, who like have their little Cocker Spaniels that are their friends. Sally, the little old viejita que está in the village, who knows everyone's shit. I love her. She's my favorite character. And if she's not your favorite character, you are simply incorrect. I don't know what to tell you. This book is so good. I think this book deserves so much more hype than it gets. And if you're looking for a just lovely, really well written, introspective, but also lighthearted rom-com book for the summer, for Pride, this is it. This is the one I recommend. I love love. I think the only person who shouldn't read Wild Things is someone who is on the verge of having a manic episode and on the verge of running away from society with all of their lesbian friends and starting a commune. Before we move on to book 2, I did want to finish rating Wild Things because I realized I didn't give it a rating. And so, interesting. I think that Wild Things is still my number 1 because I relate to Elle so much, and also I'm just at that age where starting a commune with all of my gay friends is just like wish fulfillment. So Wild Things is still number 1, but I think I'm gonna rate it a 4.5 because there are some things that like are only okay, you know what I mean? Maybe even like a 4.2. Yeah, there's just some character work that I'm not like the biggest fan of, but I'm a huge fan of the theming, and I'm a huge fan of, and also the Rachel kiss fucking gagged me. Yeah, no, Ray doesn't feel like a real person to me, but I really like Elle. So number 2 is gonna be Felix Ever After, but I rate that one 5 stars. And I stand by that rating. I don't know what to tell you. I think it's a 5-star book, and it's number 2. Mostly because it's a YA book. And I am in my late 20s. So, and then number 8 is still Most Ardently. Although that one I'm gonna give a 3. So, here are our ratings as we currently stand. And next is supposed to be Honey Witch. Now, Honey Witch is a new book that just came out. And I should have requested it from the library sooner. I know that. That's on me. That's my bad. But it's a 4-week wait currently. So I'm hoping that someone is a really fast reader and that I can get it before I have to put this video out. Because if not, I'm going to have to buy it. Which is fine. You know, supporting authors and things like that. But I really wanted to do this video without spending any money. Just to kind of prove you don't need to spend money to enjoy a shit ton of books. But so, Honey Witch is on hold for right now. But that moves us on to our like aqua greeny book, which is Tentacles. Time for the monster fucking. I'm so excited. This one's on Kindle Unlimited. So
I'm gonna hop into that right now. If you are reading on Kindle, I always urge you to go all the way to the front. 1, to see the covers, and 2, to see the dedications. This one says, to anyone who wants to be fucked by tentacles. I have a feeling I'm in for a good time. Hopefully. I hope I'm in for a good time. And I'll check in when it makes me feel something. Yeah, I would say so. Hell yeah, man. Love is love, actually. You're so right, bestie. I love this book. Should I film the entire clip like this? I think it's a vibe. My shirt kind of glows. Hold on. That's kind of fun. Okay, we might leave it like that. I really like the warm lighting. I think that's really dramatic. So Tentacles and Triathlons. She's done. What do I think? So I read this in 2 hours. I read this so quickly. How do I know? Because my jellyfish screensaver, I'm at 2 hours and 29 minutes. And I had it playing the entire time, but I had to like stop to take medication. I had to help my mom with the massage gun because she hurt herself. So things of that nature. So I finished this in just about 2 hours. It's not very complicated. It's so cute. It's so cute. It's so cute. What do I think? I really liked it. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I just keep looking at the cover. It's very cute. And then like each chapter, so not only is the cover really cute, but each chapter has like a really cute little header. I'll throw in a few here so you can see what I mean. Precious. They're precious. And so I like this book a lot more than I thought I was going to. So it's very straightforward. It's very straight to the point. There's not a lot of like faffing around. Like page 10, we're mated. We know what's going on. We know what we're in here for. You know, there's a bit of prejudice we gotta work through. What does it mean to be a monster? Yada, yada, yada. Let's shove something up someone's butt. You know what I mean? Like, we know what we're here for. And it's very direct to the point. That being said, it's so charming. It should not be as charming as it is. Like, dead ass. There's no reason for this book to be this charming. And, like, I don't think on a technical level, it's very complex. And even the language that is used, it even left me wanting more at times. So I feel like on a technical level, I can't rate it that high. But I had such a great time. I didn't think I was gonna like it this much. So Cyrus and Reese they live in, I didn't read you the description, I just jumped into it. I just said monster fucker, let's rock. Okay, Leviathan Fitness is the favorite place of monsters, muscles, and a tentacle creature who can seduce even the hardest to win over human. The Parks Department supervisor, Reese Rollins, decides to sign up for a triathlon. There are 2 things holding him back. 1, his fear of monsters. 2, his subpar swimming skills. At the urging of his sister's woven mate, Reese joined Leviathan Fitness to train in the gym's Olympic-sized swimming pool. After running into Reese at the pool, Cyrus offers to help Reese to get ready to win the race. New feelings arise from the depths as Reese and Cyrus learn that monsters and humans go together, tentacle in hand. The one question is, can these 2 hold on to their newfound love despite their differences? Tentacles and Triathlons is book 2 in the Leviathan Fitness series. Each book will center around the gym and feature a different monster pairing. Yeah, it's exactly what it says on the tin. Like, that's it. And like, even that snippet of writing is pretty typical of what you're gonna see in this novel. So nothing super complex. A nice little afternoon read with a lot of spice, but like not overly gratuitous spice. Like for instance, when I first got back into reading as a hobby, like back into like the book internet space, and I knew I wanted to write romance novels, I wanted to refresh myself on spice. What is, you know,
because I used to write it when I was younger, probably way too young. We're not going to talk about that. But as an adult, what did I like? What did I want to write? How much did I want to go into it? Da 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 da. All that fun stuff. Did I want super spicy? Did I want just like mild? What did I want to do as an author? And so I got a temporary Kindle Unlimited pass, and I just started reading a bunch of shit. And when you first get into Kindle Unlimited, you come across a bunch of weird shit. And I read this, I don't even know what it was. I didn't finish it. I got halfway through. It was like a demon fucker, I think. But it was like a wide choose. So it was like 4 or 5 different demons and one girl. And it was book 2 in a series similar to this one. And I had no idea what the fuck was going on the entire time. I couldn't tell you shit. And like, is that my fault for picking up book 2? Yes. But I should be able to glean something. I'm not illiterate. Like, I know how storytelling works. I was like, I should, is it me? Am I the problem? Do I not know how to read? No, it just wasn't a good book. And the sex scenes in that were just so super gratuitous, super over the top, super where I was like, okay, we're still going. Okay, I get it. God. And so that was like, I think a fear in the back of my head with this guy again. Picking up book 2 out of 4. Was that going to happen again? Was it going to be super over the top? And I am so happy to say neither were the case. I followed her on Instagram, Ashley Bennett. I think Ashley Bennett does a great job making this story feel like a standalone. Sure, you could like see the other things kind of happening in the background, like, oh, I know that's going to be a couple. Oh, I can tell that's going to be a couple. But I didn't feel like I needed to know their stories to enjoy this story. And then again, the sex scenes weren't overly gratuitous. Everyone was horny all the time, obviously. You know, it was tasteful in my opinion. And so I was like a huge fan. I was a huge fan. I was a much bigger fan than I thought I was going to be. And especially with this being, I think my first real foray, first jump into like the sexy monster romance. I was very pleasantly surprised. And again, I was just so charmed. Oh my god. I immediately went and followed Ashley Bennett on Instagram. And I immediately went and looked up fan art because I like the characters. And again, it's not the most like technically sound novel. Like there are things that kind of come out of nowhere. There are descriptions that kind of leave me wanting. Like it literally, like at one point it was like, oh, okay, we're just together now. Okay, cool. Like there's a moment where I was like, ooh, they're like about to yell at each other, that'll be like steamy tension, and then they're already fucking in a tent. And I'm like, oh, okay. I think the best way to say it is where I think Ashley Bennett, and I say this with all love in the world, where I think she lacks in picture painting with her words, she makes up for in charm and unique characters and unique setting. And I want to know about the rest of the characters. Am I going to read the other 3 books in this series? Absolutely I am. Especially since I have my Kindle Unlimited free trial still going on. Absolutely I am. And I think you can be the most technically sound author in the world. You could have talents to paint a picture and be incredibly detailed with your descriptions and really chew on it and really let the scene speak for itself and have no charm. No charm.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
And of course, you know, the sweet spot is somewhere right there in the middle where you have like this beautiful way with words, and then you also have these lovely charming characters that feel very alive. But yeah, I enjoyed it much more than I thought I would. I had a lot of fun, as you can tell, with my lights. This is the only color these lights go, by the way. These aren't RGB lights. This is a set of string lights that go blue, warm white, and pink. And I picked them very specifically because they went warm white, and it was like, oh, well, you can have like a cool white that go red and green, or you can have a warm light that goes like multicolored only. And I was like, okay, out of all the options, I want the copper wire and I want the warm white light. So I'm gonna pick the pink and blue one. I'm going to. And I've never used it before now, and it was just perfect. It was just perfect. I had the time of my life. I had the time of my life. I'm going to read the next 2 novels. Last one next to. yeah, it's just, you know, reading is meant to be fun. If you're having fun at the end of the day, you're doing it right, and I had a great time. And so I guess in my heart of hearts, the writing level feels like it should be a 2.5. And again, not to say like skill. I don't think she's an unskilled author. I don't want to say that. It's just what I look for in a book. There tends to be a little bit more picture painting. There tends to be a little bit more stuff to kind of chew on with the words. It's a little less direct. I like a little bit more flowery language. That is just me. My plant just stabbed me. But that's just me. And so for me, I want to rate it 2.5 because I wanted a little bit more from those scenes. I wanted them to be stretched out a little bit more. I wanted more to chew on. I wanted just a little bit more meat on the bones. But I have to bump it up to a 3. Maybe a 3.5 because I had such a great time. I said what I said. I said what I said. What else do you want from me? I know what I like. And so right now, what are the standings right now? We have Wild Things at number 1. We have Felix Ever After at 2. And then we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then Most Ardently at 8. I still stand by that. I think I'm going to put this at 5. I think I'm going to put it at 5 for now. Just below the middle. You know, splitting the middle. Just because, me personally, I want a little bit more flowery language. And you know me, I love angst. I love yearning. So I want a little bit more of that. A little bit more of, do I like him? I don't know. But that's just me. I'm a menace to society. What do you want? And it is now 11:38 at night. And I am going to go to bed. Yeah, I'm gonna go to bed. I'm tired. I read 2 books today, and tomorrow I'm probably gonna read 2 more, hopefully 3 more if I can get an audiobook in. We'll see. See you guys tomorrow with our next book, which I think, actually, I can tell you what our next book is gonna be. I can tell you what it is, 'cause I actually own it. It is This Is How You Lose the Time War. I'm counting this as like the baby blue. So Tentacle and Triathlons was like the aqua green, you know, the middle color between green and blue. And here we've finally settled on blue, this light blue. It's very, very light, but it's blue, I promise. This Is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone. Book club favorite and a reader's guide. It's not super long, 198 pages, so as long as Tentacles and Triathlons. And so I own this book because a few months ago I wanted to treat myself to a little treat, and my wub and I walked around Barnes & Noble's, and I have a friend who works at Barnes & Noble's who I used to work with, and she was like, girl, hello, and I was like, hi, and she went, no, you don't pay full price here. And I am very happy to finally read it. I've been holding off on it for a while. Not for any real reason. I've just been holding off on it. But I do love, as I was like gathering books for this, I was FaceTiming with my friend, and I picked this up and I was like, no, this one I know I want in the gathering. And I picked it up to show it to her, and on the back there's a quote from V.E. Schwab, the number 1 New York Times bestseller, A Darker Side of Magic and Vicious, and also, my head is too big, and also The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I actually have a special edition. I've never read that book. I have a special edition that I got at Half Price Books. It has the blue cover and it has like holographic writing on it. And I bought it because it said special edition. I know it's a book that I want to read because it's a book that I've seen people talk about forever, and I've just never read it, and I really want to. But yeah, that V.E. Schwab, I'm assuming, unless there are 2, but their quote is, holy shit, this was good. So a ringing endorsement. And so, in the ashes of a dying world, Red finds a letter marked, burn before reading. So begins an unlikely correspondence between 2 rival agents in a war that stretches through the vast reaches of time and space. Red belongs to the Agency, a post-singularity technotopia. Blue belongs to Garden, a single vast consciousness embedded in all organic matter. That's me. Their pasts are bloody and their futures mutually exclusive. They have nothing in common, save that they're the best, and they're alone. Now what began as a battlefield boast grows into a dangerous game. One both red and blue are determined to win. Because winning's what you do in war, isn't it? A tour de force collaboration from two powerhouse writers that spans the whole of time and space. A twisting sapphic time travel fantasy love story that never stops surprising. Readers will reach the end and want to turn back to the start. Booklist, starred review. Gladstone and Elmo Hart's debut collaboration is a fireworks display from two very talented storytellers. Madeline Milner, New York Times bestselling author of Circe, another one on my list. Oh, I didn't even notice that. That's cool. Amal Elmo Hart is at the top in blue, and Max Gladstone is at the bottom in red. That's so cool. And so, yeah, my friend recommended this to me, and I am very excited to finally get around to reading it, so. Yay, this is next on the list. I just put teeth marks on that. See you tomorrow. I'm only on page 3, but, silver moss devours steel, and violet flowers choke the dead guns. If the planet lasted long enough, the vines that sprouted from the corpse's mouth would grow berries. It won't, and neither will they. Oh my god. So Red so far is like on a dying planet, making sure everyone's dead in this war that happened in the past. I think that's what's happening. Oh, and she just found a letter. Okay. On a span of blasted ground, she finds the letter. It does not belong. Here there should be bodies mounted between the wrecks of ships that once sailed the stars. Here there should be the death and dirt and blood of a successful op. There should be moons disintegrating overhead, ships aflame in orbit. There should not be a sheet of cream-colored paper, clean, save a single line in a long, trailing hand. Burn before reading. Red likes to feel. It is a fetish. Now she feels fear and eagerness. She was right. I'm only on page 4. Oh my god, I love this. Okay. I love this. Okay, so I know I said that with Tentacles and Triathlons, I wanted like a little bit more to chew on, like a little bit more flowery language. I didn't realize I'd be immediately eating my words. So this book, so far, makes me feel dumb. And I'm only on page 34, and it's been like 2 hours. This book should be done by now. And not in a bad way. Like, I don't think it makes me feel dumb in a bad way, as much as it just kind of makes... No, there's no other way to put it. It makes me feel dumb. And that's like okay. It's not the end of the world to feel dumb while reading a book. And I still shouldn't be adjusting my frame while talking, but I still am enjoying it. I think it's really interesting. So it is like a time travel novel. So you are... There's no hand holding. I need to take my medication. I'll do it after this clip. But there is no hand holding. Actually, I'll just do it now, so I don't forget. No, it's not a bad thing to feel dumb, and I don't think the flowery language is like detracting from my experience with the books. I do think that it's very thought-provoking. It's, again, it is to do with time travel. It's meant to be a little confusing. There is no hand holding, and there is no setup. You open and oh, we took off running 5 minutes ago. You have to catch up. Which is fine. And actually I quite like that. I quite like the no hand holding. I quite like that you are thrown into this very vivid, very... I don't want to say compelling because I use that word way too much, but very vivid, very like interesting world, you know, because it's not even that we're experiencing this time travel from a human's perspective. We're experiencing it from 2 agents who are weaving in and out of time themselves, you know, and who are, while they do have physical forms and while they do have like jobs to do, they are ideas almost, which is cool. And so yeah, this is how you lose the time, where there's like a time warp going on of these two sides. The agency, which is very technological, which because of the cover, I imagine that Red looks like a humanoid. Oh, what is this bird called? This guy. A humanoid, robotic, red bird is what I imagine that she looks like. Because she does have some enhancements that she can do, which is just cool, and they're just kind of thrown in. You're supposed to know what they are, which is fun. It's fun kind of figuring that out. And then Blue, I still don't know what Blue kind of looks like, personally. I want to continue with the bird theme just because there's a bird on here, so in my head I'm going to say that she's a bird, but I don't have like a clear image of her in my head. But yeah, and even though this book makes me feel dumb, it doesn't make me want to read it any less. I do want to finish it. I do want to read it, and I feel like this one is one that I'm going to read multiple times over throughout my life. And even when I find myself being a little lost, because not lost in the sense of like I have no idea what's going on. No, I still have a very strong grasp of what's happening. It's more every now and then there'll be a paragraph where there are a bunch of words strung together that I know, and I know what they mean, but I don't know what the fuck it's saying. And then I just kind of read past it and I keep going and I pretend I know what's going on, and it doesn't like change what's happening in the story like significantly. Like I can still keep track of what's going on. So far it's fine. If I feel really dumb by the end, like I'll let you know, but I just want to be very truthful with my experience in reading this book so far. So that being said, it's really cool. How they exchange letters is really cool because they are not literally limited to a physical letter. Like the scene I just the scene I just finished, the character Red, she has shifted into a man, and she's been with this like wandering, I don't want to say caravan, because again, this is the thing where like I don't know what the words are. It's a bunch of men, they're warriors, they themselves are at war, and they're out deforesting basically because they need wood and things. And she's been with them for 10 years. She's been with them for a full decade, and they think she's earned their respect. She's fully integrated, and in one of the trees that they cut down, Red's examining it and she sees something weird, and so she goes and touches the ridges, the rings, the tree rings. She goes and she touches them, and in the shape of the rings, because the rings are formed by the age of the tree, in the rings, as it's grown, it's been manipulated to be different shapes to write out a letter. That's fucking cool as shit, dude. Like, that's so cool. That is so cool. And so she reads it, and everyone is around her, like these men are with her, and they're like, hey man, what's going on? Are you okay? What's going on? Is something wrong? Like they think that she's noticed that the tree is sick or something. And she's like, no, we need to use it. No, it's a good tree. We need to use it because the letter needs to be destroyed. And the passage ends with, they drag the logs to camp. They split them, trim them, plane them, frame them into engines of war. Don't know what engines of war is, by the way. 2 weeks later, the planks lie shattered around the fallen walls of a city, still burning, still weeping. Progress gallops on, and blood remains behind. Vultures circle, but they feasted here already. The seeker crosses the barren land, the broken city. She gathers the splinter from the engine's wreck, and as the sun sets, she slides those splinters one by one into her fingers. Her mouth opens, but she makes no sound. That is so vivid. That's so vivid. And I have no fucking idea who the seeker is. So the way that this is set up is that each segment, we follow one of the characters. We alternate between Red and Blue. And the first half of the segment is like what they're doing in that moment. Because, again, they're both fighting this time war through time. And so they have like objectives and missions that they need to finish. They need to shape and mold time to whatever will help them get to the future that they want. And so they're trying to mold a certain moment to happen, to create ripples to happen later down the line, right? Follow me, we're here, jingle jingle jingle. Then at the end of the segment, there's always a paragraph or like a little stinger of the seeker. And at first I was like, is the seeker the other person? Like when we're reading from Red's point of view, is the seeker blue? But now I don't know. The first 2 segments, I thought that was it, and then the third I was like, no, it's not. And then the fourth I was like, no, but it has to be. So I don't know who the fuck the seeker is. Is it us? Are we the seeker? I don't know. More at 11. But, and then we read whatever letter that they have just found. Either after they've succeeded in their mission, or if they failed their mission. In the act of that, they will always find a letter of some sort. This one in the Trees of a Ring, which is again so fucking cool. So that's how the structure of the novel has gone so far. Again, 34 pages in. So good change, but that's what we're working with so far. I don't know, there's some lines that are just so quippy, and then there are some lines that you just have to fucking chew on. And so far I think I'm enjoying it. I think. And yeah, we'll check in next time I feel something. Also, the dedication is to you. P.S. Yes, you. Which made me laugh. It occurs to me to dwell on what a microcosm we are of the war as a whole, you and I. The physics of us. An action and an equal and opposite reaction. My viney, hivey elf world, as you say, versus your techie-mechie dystopia. We both know it's nothing so simple, any more than a letter's reply is its opposite. But which egg precede what platypus? The ends don't always resemble our means. I know what all those words mean. I know the context. This is the letter from Blue to Red that she found in the tree. I know what all those words mean independently, and yet I am still left feeling like I have missed something. Again, so immediately be given exactly what I asked for is hilarious. So a few hours later, I'm only on page 75, but so this is one of those moments that so perfectly encapsulates how I feel about this book, of where you can read it, excuse me, I just said a beer, I'm so sorry, where you can read it and understand every word and still not super understand what it means, but then you understand the meaning so clearly and so deeply that it almost doesn't matter what the words on the page are, because the picture is so fucking crystal clear. So forgive me, it's a bit of a long passage, but Blue carries nothing with her between strands except knowledge, purpose, tactics, and Red's letters. Memory is tipped and decanted into garden, life to life to life, always deepening, thickening, growing new roots and efficiencies. But Red's letters she keeps in her own body, curled beneath her tongue like coins, printed in her fingertips, between the lines of her palms. She presses them against her teeth before kissing her marks, reads them over when she shifts her grip on motorcycle handles, dusts soldiers' chins with them in bar fights and barracks games. She thinks without thinking, often, of what she will name Red in her next letter, hides her list in plausibly deniable dreamscapes. I don't know why that was so hard for me to read. Hides her list in plausibly deniable dreamscapes on the underside of milkweed leaves, in shed chrysalis and wingtip, vermilion lye, scarlet tanager, Parthian thread, my red, red rose. You could take out one of those sentences and they don't make a fucking lick of sense. But Red's letter she keeps in her own body, curled beneath her tongue like coins. What does that mean? But you know what it means. Fuck! Okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. My bangs don't want to stay down. We're not going to talk about it. They just... where they should be. Where they are. We're not talking about it. Anyway. So. This is how you lose time more. It is with a heavy heart that I have to admit that I have to DNF this novel. Not because it's bad, not because I don't like it. No, 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 no. I am DNFing it for the time being. Is it going in my DNF graveyard? Absolutely not. I really, really like this book. I want to spend more time with this book. And in the concept of this video, where I'm reading back to back to back to back to back books, I feel like I'm doing this a disservice by trying to speed through it. And I want to spend more time with it. So, it is being put aside for now to return to later. And I could cut this entire segment out of the video, but the reason I want to keep it is because DNFing is normal. DNFing is totally fine. If there's a book, and I've had this happen to me a few times, where there's a book where I'm like, I'm just not ready for you yet, but I will be. I will be. And I will come back to you. That is totally normal. That doesn't make you dumb. That doesn't make you any less of a reader. That doesn't say anything about you, other than you know yourself well enough to put something down that does not serve you to come back to it later. That is what I'm doing with this book here. I'm holding it very closely because I really like it. I really like it. It's so verbose and so wordy and so thick that, like, in order for me to fully enjoy it, I feel like I have to take it like a couple segments at a time. Especially as someone who loves words so much, and how words are so put to use, like put to fucking work in this book. I don't want to skin over it, you know what I mean? I felt like I wasn't enjoying it. I was just trying to power through. It's only 200 pages. I can do this so quickly. And in doing that, I was doing myself and this book a disservice. So if this sounds like something that you would enjoy, if the premise of two time-traveling lesbians sending letters back and forth and slowly falling in love and professing their love to one another, if that, set with beautiful fucking imagery, set with some wonderful fucking verbose language, if that sounds like your alley, I would actually recommend this book, even though I have not finished. I'm about halfway done. Even though I have not finished it, I would still recommend this book. I have a feeling that this is a book that I'm going to recommend to people for a long time, and not everyone is going to like it, and not everyone is going to fully understand, and they're going to be like, Percy, why did you recommend this to me? And I will still continue to recommend it to people because I am a huge fan of it. I just want to spend more time with it, is all. There's so much packed in here for a 200-page book. There's so many words, and there's so much. It says so much with so little, and I love words, and I want to spend time with this, and so this is one I'm going to be chipping away at and annotating and writing my thoughts down, and I'm gonna reread this multiple times in the future. I can feel it already. I'm a huge fan of this, and that's kind of why I wanted to keep it in. And in case anyone's watching who has a book like this, who they kind of have it on the back burner, and because they're not finishing it, they feel like they can't read anything else, even though they have other things on their TBR that they want to read, I'm giving you permission. It's okay. You come back to it. You can come back to it when the time is right. And that is something so lovely about having relationships with books, especially books that you own, you know. This is the one book that I own in this video so far. So, you know, the relationship you have with your books is personal, and no one can tell you what's right or wrong. But yeah, no, I love this. My friend was correct. I'm a huge fan of it. I told my partner the premise of it, and he went, oh, that's a you book. That's something that you would write. And I went, oh, thank you so much. She's not wrong. But I don't think I could write it anywhere close as good as this is. So yeah, I made it. Let's see where I made it. I think I made it halfway. It's 133, I believe. Yeah, I'm gonna say 140, and I just saw something up ahead that made my heart stop, so I'm gonna stop flipping through. But that's how far I made it. And I will come back to this on my own time, in my own way. Probably sitting on a beach somewhere. So, next on our list. It feels so weird to like put it down and just go, anyway, next. You know what I mean? Whew. But anyway, next on our list is Don't Want You Like a Best Friend by Emma R. Albin. I want to show you, there it is, okay. I Don't Want You Like a Best Friend by Emma R. Albin. Beautiful. It's pretty, it's purple, it's a Taylor Swift lyric, it's lesbians in not Regency, but Victorian romance. So a swoon-worthy debut queer Victorian romance in which two debutantes distract themselves from having to seek husbands by setting up their widowed parents and instead find their perfect match in each other. The lesbian Bridgerton parent trap you never know you needed. I can't talk. As someone who is like craving so much Bridgerton right now, this sounds exactly what I needed. Okay. Gwen has a beyond brilliant idea. It's 1857, and anxious debutante Beth has just one season to snag a wealthy husband, where she and her mother will be out on the street. But playing the blushing ingenue makes Beth's skin crawl, and she'd rather be anywhere but here. Gwen, on the other hand, is on her 4th season and counting, with absolutely no intention of finding a husband, possibly ever. She figures she has plenty of security as the only daughter of a rakish earl, from whom she's gotten all of her flair, fun, and less than proper party games. Let's get them together, she says. It doesn't take long for Gwen to hatch her latest scheme. Rather than surrender Beth to courtship, they should set up Gwen's father and Beth's newly widowed mother. Let them get married instead. It'll be easy, she says. There's just one teeny tiny problem. Their parents seem to kind of hate each other. But no worries, Beth and Gwen are more than up to the challenge of a little 20-year-old heartbreak. How hard can parent-trapping widowed ex-lovers be? Of course, just as their plan begins to unfold, a handsome, wealthy Viscount starts calling on Beth, offering up a perfect, secure marriage. Beth, not mature enough for this. Now, Gwen must face the prospect of sharing Beth with someone else, forever. And Beth must reckon with the fact that she's caught feelings. Hard, and they're definitely not for her potential fiancé. There's trouble with matchmaking. Sometimes you accidentally fall in love with your best friend in the process. I'm about to eat this shit up! I'm so excited! Also, if this sounds like one that you would enjoy, through the library there is a bit of a wait. I was only able to get the Kindle book, not the audio book, which hurts my heart personally, but it's fine. And then, if you are a fan of this, there is a second one that is publishing at the end of August this year called You're the Problem, It's You. And it's Gween, a mischief and matchmaking novel. It's Gween! Hello. It's Gween! And it's boys! So, oh, it's Enemies to Lovers! Okay, so that's coming out in August. Anyway, we're gonna get started with I Don't Want You Like a Best Friend. I've been wanting to read this one for a while, since I saw it like a couple months ago, and I've been saving it for this. So let's fucking go, baby! Okay, so I'm 13% of the way in, which I thought would be appropriate given the swiftiness of it all. And by swiftiness, I mean literally just the title, because I haven't seen any other Taylor Swift references, but that is totally fine. I do not need Taylor Swift references to make a book good.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
Anyway. I'm having a great time, and not just because the cover matches my iPad. And yes, I do have a Taylor Swift sticker on my iPad. It's the Lover bodysuit, and it says it's you and me, that's my whole world. Don't remember where I got it. It was on Etsy. Point is, I'm having a great time. It's very sweet. It is scratching the Bridgerton-ness of it all, and I love that. Because I have been on a Bridgerton kick, and I have been starving for content. Thank you. I literally spent, I think, 12 hours watching just all of Nicola Coughlan and Luke Newton interviews. I have a deep love for Nicola Coughlan. Yeah, no, I'm just in love with Nicola Coughlan. That's what I'm realizing now. That's my wee lesbian, and I love her. Anyway, I think what I really like about this novel so far is that it, one, scratching that Bridgerton itch that I'm needing, but two, I like that they're friends. They're clever, and they're quippy, and they tease each other, and they're comfortable together, and they're friends. Like, I know, so this is a friends to lover, Don't Want You Like a Best Friend, obviously. It's friends to lovers. And, what I like about this is that they're friends very truly in the sense of just being like good friends. Like they just enjoy spending time together. And I think out of all the novels that we've read, because most of them have been friends to lovers, don't know why that is a common thread through I don't know why that's a common thread through the queer books that we've read, but what I think those books had, well, yes, they were friends to lovers, they were friends that always had a bit of an inkling of something more, you know what I mean? Like in Felix Ever After, what's Felix's best friend's name? Oh my god, I had it and then I just completely blanked. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Yeah, I didn't write down any notes for Felix Ever After because I was so enthralled by it. But Felix's best friend is like in love with him, like from the beginning is in love with him. And Most Ardently, they are friends, but because they like have a crush on each other, they're friends. And then with Wild Things, they were best friends, with Elle having this huge crush on Ray the entire time. Still haven't read Honey Witch. So, and so there's always, from one side or the other, there's always like romantic interest happening. Here they're just friends. And I think that is so fucking charming. They're both very charming. They both very clearly, like, even from the beginning, are like looking out for one another. It's like, oh, I see you and you see me and that means something. And I like talking with you. And, like Gwen, who's the blonde one, is, you know, she's year 4, it's her 4th year on the season, and she is like, hey, I don't want a husband, but I can see you do, so we're gonna get you a husband, bestie. Like, she's a girl's girl, you know, and I love that. And Beth is just trying her best. She's just trying her best. She's very stressed. She's very stressed. She needs to get married or else they're gonna be poor, and she's like, I'm not charming, oh no. And then she befriended Gwen, who has this reputation for being like a boisterous woman, and so that's also not working in her favor. But she's like, but I like my friend and I'm not gonna turn my back on my friend to get a husband. Girls all the way. Yeah, I love this. And while you can tell that there could be something more, that there will be something more, there never like has to be. Like, one of the things I highlighted and that I highlighted, like, there's this moment where they're promenading, they're walking around looking pretty, and Gwen and Beth get to walk together because, you know, 2 young women away from their chaperones is more appealing than one young woman glued to her chaperone, etc, etc. So Gwen is like, no, let's walk together so you look more appealing. And Gwen, it's chilly, it's cold, so they're really huddled together. The chill comes and they snuggle in a little bit, and Gwen finds their height difference rather charming. Beth fits against her nicely, and that is fucking precious. Like, there's moments like that where it's like, yeah, would you have that thought about like your friend? What I think I like is that neither of them are thinking of themselves as queer. You know what I mean? And not in the sense of like, oh, I like that in books. Like, no, I think just in this setting particularly. I like that they don't have that thought in their head. It's because Gwen, and she might later, you know, this might be revealed to us later, but so far, she hasn't been married because she finds the men boring. She's a very self-assured woman. She knows what she wants. She's very, not choosy, there's another word that they use for it that I can't remember right now, but she's very like particular about what she wants, and no one has met that, and she's like, I'm fine being alone. You know, my father will take care of me and I'm fine. And Beth is like, yeah, love would be nice, but I'm focusing on like not being homeless with my mother, you know. So neither of them are thinking, the way that they think about men is like, how can they be useful in this scenario, because that's how they have to think about them. And it's not being like beaten over your head that they're lesbians, or they're bisexual, or whatever it might be, which I appreciate. I think a more amateur author would have made that the case, where Gwen or Beth would have said something along the lines already about how they don't like men, they're interested in women, to really like drill it home that that's what we're here for. So I like the subtlety of it. I like their friendship. I do like that the parents are like, don't look at me. They're like really shy about each other. We haven't discovered why yet. We know because we read the back of the book, but we don't know why in the book, in the story yet. And they're both like really annoyed that their daughters are friends, and their daughters are like, interesting. So yeah, I really like it. It's very fun. I really want to read it like sitting outside on a picnic blanket with like an iced coffee and snacks, but it's too cold to do that right now. But that's what I want. That's what this book entails, you know, to have like a little tea party to read it. So I'm having a great time. And I will check in at either another Taylor Swift number or when something very dramatic happens. Okay, so I have to take a pause because I have to go eat dinner and also do my hair, apparently. Why do I look like that? Anyway, so I'm gonna go like eat, and you know, Webb and I are gonna go get food, but my hair's ginormous. But anyway, so with Mr. Monston, Lord Monston, excuse me, with Lord Monston, you know, now posing interest in our Bethy, I wonder how this book is going to end. I'm so curious, because this is also what I wondered with Most Ardently, of how realistic of an ending are we going to get. In Most Ardently, I was very fond of that, with the historical context note that Mr. Gabriel gave at the end of the book. You know, the thought process that in history things weren't recorded, and that there were probably many trans people who lived out their life under their chosen name and under their correct sexual identity. We just don't know about it because in society, in history, for all intents and purposes, that's just who they were, you know? And so for Most Ardently, I gave it a pass. I thought it was actually a very creative ending. But I wonder, are our girls going to get a happily ever after, or, you know, or is it their parents get the happily ever after and then they have to grow up as sisters together even though they're in love? But like, I don't know. I'm just so curious if we're going to get that like melancholy ending, you know, if society doesn't accept them as two women in love. Okay, so what do they do to make that love happen, you know? Because those are the stories that I find very interesting, compelling, of like love persisting despite society's correctness or what have you, you know? So are they going to be the two lovely little spinsters off in the countryside together? So I'm just curious, and I don't know if I said any of that correctly. I don't know if any of that was an intelligent thought, but yeah. And then part of me also feels bad of wanting to know, because I also don't want to feed into the kind of trope that queer love stories have to have like a tragic ending. Like, they weren't allowed to be together, and so they died still being in love, but no one knew, you know? Like, I don't want that, but I think what I want personally is a historical queer fantasy where love prevails because it's clever. You know what I mean? That you're still playing by society's rules, but for all intents and purposes, you still get to live a more fulfilled life and have, you know, a little bit of sacrifice. I think I just want... Do I just want characters to suffer? Maybe. Okay, so we have officially met the Earl that might court our Bethy. He is in line for the Earl of Ashmont, and he is nice. He's pleasant. As someone who's interested in men, I find him quite precious. He's written very well. He's a precious, dumb, tall man, and that's it. And again, as someone who's interested in men, that's all I would need personally. And Beth is left wondering, shouldn't I feel more? There's a line that is highlighted by many. I'm laying in bed because my hip really hurts, so shut up. Shouldn't she be swooning? He's swoon worthy, she can tell, but there's just no swoon in her, and I love that. Personally, I love that he's not like disinteresting, or there's something about him that makes us fall out of love with him or anything of that nature. And And would I have liked Beth to be a little bisexual? Yes. But do I love this like slow burn of them becoming best friends and just wanting to be with each other and not thinking too much of it because that's their best friend? Yes, I fucking do. Like, if Beth hadn't met Gwen, I think she could have had feelings for Lord Monston, for Lord Ashmond. I keep getting all the names mixed up, and that's just me. I see the A and I know it's him. But yeah, it's sweet, and he is sweet to her, and she's like, eh. So I'm having a great time. I was curious about how it was going to go, and I highlighted this passage where she is vulnerable to him and is like, oh, I always wanted to have a tree house, and that her father was never around to have it commissioned, so it never got done. And it's like this thing that she's always wanted, her fabled treehouse. And he says, oh, well, we can put it on my land, it'd be lovely for the children. And it says that makes her chest tighten, and Beth forces a smile. She's not sure at all that she wants his children, nor that she wants her fabled treehouse on his lands. Never her lands. She won't have her own lands after this at all. Even if they do marry, even if he comes into 1,000 acres, they won't be hers. And I'm like, yeah, because unfortunately she's a woman, you know what I mean? And it's like, I don't want a fabled fairy tale ending for my girl. I want her to be happy, I do, but the idea of her, like, and she falls in love, and she gets the girl, and she gets everything. You know, I want a little bit of struggle, I want a little bit of strife, and we're getting that strife. And I'm not saying that I want her to, like, be sad. I just want, like, a little juice to this story, and I think I'm getting it, and that makes me very happy. You know what I always say, I paid for this book, it better make me hurt. And I didn't pay for this, I got it from the library, but still, make me cry. No, so his name is Lord Monston. Okay, so the guy is named Lord Monston, and he'd be the Earl of Ashmond, and so his mom is Lady Ashmond. I don't know how that works. I just know Earl is very high. Yeah, we're at 28%, so 109 pages out of 393. So we're setting up for a good. And the parents are enemies to lovers. Childhood best friends. Not childhood. Like young in life friends turned to not quite lovers, but having feelings for each other, having a heartbreak, and now they're a second chance romance, and they're enemies to lovers, and it's very, very sweet. I love them so much. But yeah, I don't know how many more check-ins I'm gonna do for this, but okay, so I finished Don't Want You Like a Best Friend, and technically I finished it and then went and ate lunch and then took a shower, but a girl's gotta do what a girl's gotta do. But because I had like 30 minutes to an hour to sit with it, I actually did get a chance to write down my thoughts and tell you what I think. Don't Want You Like a Best Friend, matching my purple iPad. It's precious. I should bring up my notes. That's what I should do, not just the pretty cover. Nope, I just pulled the cover again. Okay, so I think it is absolutely precious. It gave me everything I wanted. It delivered what was on the tin. It felt really satisfying. I can see, because this is, I think, 3.5 on Goodreads, I think, something like that. I'm not fully sure. And I can see why it has a rating like that. I can see people saying, oh, it's predictable, oh, I knew it was gonna happen, because it does kind of feel that way, but not in a bad way. I think when we say predictability, we think that it's like an unskilled accident when something's predictable. You know, it takes more skill level to be unpredictable, to surprise people. But I don't think that's the case necessarily. It's the same vein of thought of, I don't think spoilers ruin stories. I think that this author, I should know their name, Emma R. Albin, I don't know their pronouns, so I'm just going to use inclusive language. If that bothers you, fuck off. But I think that they did a very good job of seeding what needed to happen, what was going to happen, and taking you along the journey. There were because this is a semi-historical piece, I don't know about the historical accuracy. I don't care. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here for the lesbian romance. So we're gonna say historical with a grain of salt. You know, someone might disagree with that. I don't care. This is my review. But no, we're here for this like historical fiction fantasy vibe. And when you're playing in that world, there are certain rules that you tend to need to stick to for it to feel believable. And I think that they stuck to those rules really well, and were able to craft a story kind of around these parameters that needed to be fulfilled. Because you can't tell me that Beth needs to find a husband, or her and her mother are going to be homeless, and then not fulfilling that threat. Like, if the end of the story was that Beth just, you know, we hear this entire time that Beth's father is awful, left them with no money intentionally because he hates women, I'm assuming, and that there's this huge power imbalance, that they're literally going to be homeless if they don't figure out what to do by the end of the season. When the end of the season comes around and Beth isn't married, that should mean something. It's not, you can't be like, oh, Beth, it was all a lie, Beth actually inherited the estate. Then it means nothing, and what the fuck are we here for, you know? No, that's that's not a dig at most Ardently, by the way. It sounds like it is, it's not, I promise. But yeah, so having those stakes and needing to work within those parameters, you can kind of tell where the story's gonna go pretty early on. We were at the 50% mark, and I texted my best friend about this because I was like, oh, we're at the 50% mark, and our girls, oh, they're there, they're falling in love, oh my goodness. So they're gonna have to fucking work for their happy ending. They have to work for their happy ending. There's 50% of the book left, which excited me personally. And even with the ending being predictable, I still found that the tension was there, you know? Like, there was a moment where I was like, oh, I don't know if this is gonna end the way I think it is. I think this might just end on a fucking downer note. Oh no, it doesn't. It ends with a nice little happy ending. It's very sweet. But that seed is still there, because I'm like, Bestie, we're getting close to the end of the book. We need to wrap this up, and we're still not where we need to be. And so the tension is still there, and going on that emotional ride and going on that emotional roller coaster is what the point of the book is about. You know what I mean? Especially when you're reading romance and rom-coms and something a little bit more lighthearted, you know they're gonna end at worst on a bittersweet moment. 9 out of 10, happy ending. How do we get to that happy ending? How are you going to convince me that they deserve their happy ending? Is what I want to know. I want the tension. I want the drama. I want the consequences. Like, I want something bad to happen to them. I want them to earn their happy ending. Because we want to root for them. And it's not that we want to put characters in precarious or bad situations. It's I want to feel something when I read, personally. And so, going to the spoilers, Beth and Gwen end up together because they do get their parents together. They do get their parents married at the very, very last minute. Beth ends up engaged to the Lord Monson, who's going to be the Earl of Ashmond, like the most eligible bachelor at the time for the season. They're engaged, and it's like 2 nights before the wedding, I think, and her mother are sitting at the dinner table with Lord Monson and Lord Ashton and Lady Ashton. And the entire time throughout the book, the lords are fighting for or against this marriage act, you know, giving the women the right to divorce. Is that historically accurate? I don't know, but I'm here for vibes. And so Lord Ashmond is like the biggest proponent for that not passing. Like, he does not want women to have any sort of rights whatsoever. He believes that women should be subservient to their husbands, that they should agree with them, that they should do what they say and keep their fucking mouth shut. And at dinner, this marriage act just passed. It just passed 2 days ago, and they're sitting at dinner and he's going on and on about this awful act, how it's so stupid, blah 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 blah, women deserve to eat shit, blah 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 blah, he hates women. It's not that severe, it's actually like scarily realistic to things that I've heard personally anyway. But Beth, without thinking, just says something along the lines of, unless a man's abusive, you know, because he asked her if she thinks women should get divorced, and without thinking, she's like, if a man's abusive, then yes. And she's like, fuck, fuck, I just fucked up. And he tries to go like on a tirade and tries to like, no, you're wrong. But even before the Divorce Act was enacted for any woman to get divorced, if a woman could prove that her husband was beating her, that they could separate for her own safety. So he couldn't actually like disagree, because that was already a law to begin with, so it's not a progressive law. But he is like trying to put his thumb down on her for speaking out, period, and is trying to tell her like, no, your job is to listen to my son, and as long as you live in the house, you listen to me. And all the while Beth is like, oh, I think this man beats his wife, and I think his wife is on drugs right now, because she's not here, there's nothing there except for like her flinching. And he's like yelling at her, trying to like put her in her place, like, you need to learn your place. And her mom just loses her fucking mind. Like, that's the straw that broke the camel back. This entire time, her mom is trying to get her into this really affluent marriage because, not just because they're homeless, but to keep her daughter safe. And not only that, but like, that is what her parents did for her. That is what she knows. It's this theme of like generational curses. She wants her daughter taken care of, and Lord Monston, you know, the Earl's son, the next in line, is very, very kind. He's very sweet. I actually really like him. As a bisexual, I would have had such a hard time picking between the two of them, because he's genuinely very sweet. He loves Beth. He dotes on her. He's very affectionate, and he's a little stupid, and that's fine. And so her mother is like, we can make this compromise. I understand that you love Gwen. I understand that you don't want to marry him, but this is the best outcome that we could have hoped for. We should compromise on this, that he at least won't hurt you, that he at least will take care of you. Love can come later. Love is not a factor. I just want you safe. I want you to compromise. And Beth, they get into a fight about this like a couple times, where Beth is like you compromised when you married my father, like you compromised when he taught you not to speak out of turn, when you compromised to give up love for an affluent match. And what I really love about this is that she tells her mom this, and they have to have this conversation multiple times. It's a little bit different every time, but it has to happen multiple times, because her mother, there's 20 some odd years of her being conditioned and being abused by her ex-husband, her now deceased husband. And so it's like beaten into her, literally, that Beth needs just an affluent match, the best match, and if he is kind, awesome, cool, like that's it. The bar's in hell, literally. And Beth is telling her like, you deserve more than this. You've always deserved more than this. Why can't you see what you want for me is what I want for you? Because, as we know, Gwen's father was Beth's lost love. He wasn't in line to inherit a title, and so she wasn't allowed to marry him, even though she loved him and they were like best friends. And so the entire time they're trying to get them together, and when the Lord Ashmond, starts kind of digging into Beth and being mean to Beth the way that her ex-husband was to her, Mama don't play that shit. Mom stood up and was like, absolutely fucking not. You know what? No, you can go fuck yourself. We're not doing this. And she's pissed, and it's lovely. Like, when you, like, the tension was so thick at that point, because something had to happen. It needs to happen now. What is going to happen? Is it going to be Beth? Is it going to be, you know, the fiance? Like, what is it? And for it to be Mom? Oh, mwah, it felt so good, and it was so good to read. And her mother is like, well, what are we going to do? Like, we're homeless. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. And Beth is like, no, I'm so happy that you did that. That was fantastic. That was wonderful. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, it was fantastic. It was wonderful. And she's dragging her down the street. Like, we have one option, is to go get your happily ever after. And they go up to Gwen's and her father. They go up to his house and they knock on the door. It's like 9 o'clock at night. And everyone's like, what the fuck are they doing here? And Mama gets down on one knee and asks Gwen's dad to marry her. And he is like, oh, is it for the girls? Because the girls have been in love this entire time and have been heartbroken. They have been in so much pain. They've been in so much pain, and it's been fantastic. The longing, the ache, mwah, fantastic. Fantastic. They were holding hands, bare gloved, in the opera house, in one of like the private boxes, just holding hands. And I was like, eating it up. It's so good. But he's like, oh, is it for the girls? Like, don't do this to me. She's broken his heart twice now, because when Beth got engaged, the only way that they were gonna go through the engagement if neither of them saw Gwen and her dad again. And he's like, you broke my heart twice now, we can't do this. And she's like, no, it's not for them, it's for us, it's for me, you know, our second chance romance. And he says yes, and it's wonderful and it's lovely, and that means that the girls are now technically stepsisters, which is a little weird if you think about it, a little too long. But we're not going to, because they were not raised as siblings. But, you know, and their parents are like, you understand what this means. We understand that you're gay and in love. And we love you and support you, because you guys fell in love technically first. We love you and support you. But we need to understand that there are still pretenses and lies that have to be upheld for any. Anyway, because while the family is very supportive, and like Gwen's dad, his like housemates, 2 of them are married and they go by Mrs. Even though they're not married to a man, they still, Gwen has always grown up addressing them as Mrs. and they share a room together. And Gwen, literally, she's like, oh, I'm stupid, I never put that together. Has always been supportive of like gay rights, and her mom is like, as long as you're happy, I don't care. I just want you to be happy. You are the love of my life, Beth. Only want your safety and your security and your happiness. I don't give a shit who gives that to you. But that there's still societal pressures. That the family is okay. It's like, hey, in the walls of the house, you are safe. But in society, there are still pretenses that need to be upheld. I love that. Give me the sneaky gays in period pieces. Because, like, I don't know, I think it's satisfying when people work hard for their happily ever afters, you know? Give me the mischief. Give me a couple who face adversity and still chose each other anyway. Give me the drama. Do it. And I think that's what I missed. I think that is what I missed with most Ardently, is that like nothing felt like it had consequences at the end of the day. Which is fine. It's just not my favorite. You know, there's these threat of consequences, threat of his mom finding out. And mom finds out and it's just fine, and then bookends. You know, this one, there is still consequences, and those consequences are still kind of looming. And not only that, but like people fuck up. People ruin their reputation. People ruin other people's reputation. It genuinely scratches that Bridgerton itch that I fucking need, buddy. And so there is an epilogue, and in the epilogue we meet Beth's cousin, James, who took over the estate when her father died. And it's not him, but it's his dad that's kicking them out and making them homeless. He is just kind of coming into the title. He's technically next in line. I think his dad also died, or his dad is like too old to inherit, something like that. But he is like essentially taking over Beth's father's position and is taking over the house and everything. And he shows up, and he's a strapping young man. And he shows up, and I'm immediately like, oh, so you're the protagonist of the next book. I see. Oh, and it took me 2 seconds, and I'm like, oh, you're being matched up with Gwen's cousin. Oh, absolutely. Oh, so we're doing like a double switch. So you're gonna marry each other's cousins so you can both be gay in the country separately, and then just be like besties. And so the girls would live in one house having their own estate, and the boys would live in the other, and everyone get their happily ever after. And then in public, they just pretend and they're besties. And that's the correct level of convolutedness. I love that. So I think I'm gonna give this book 4.5. It's not a 5 because while there are phrases that are like really wonderful at painting pictures, I don't think there aren't phrases that gripped me as a reader where I was like, oh my god, it wasn't primo wordsmithing. You know what I mean? It's good. It's very, very good. I don't want to say that it's not. But like, for me, primo wordsmithing is like, not only are you painting pictures with your words, but you're also leaving these phrases that stick with the reader for like days to come, at least, if not years to come. That's when. But I've rated other things with 5 stars. 4.7. We'll give it a 4.7. I think that feels about right. It's good. All this to say is I think it's good and it's fun, and I'm really excited for the next one, and this is absolutely something that you should add to your summer reading list, especially during Pride. And yeah, if you're wanting to scratch that Bridgerton urge and you've already watched Queen Charlotte and you've already watched Emma and you've already watched Pride and Prejudice, this, slip it into that rotation, buddy. Like, this is sweet, it's fun, and it's not too serious, but there are enough stakes where you're gripped. Like, I was supposed to take a shower this morning. I took it 2 in the afternoon because I was like, I'm so close. I need to know what happens. So, fuck it. We're gonna make it 5 stars. I don't care. 5 stars. And for the spiciness, is there spice in this? Yes. I'm gonna put a 3 out of 5. It's okay. It's okay spice. It's alright. A little syrupy for my liking, but which is expected of a time period like this where everything is a little bit syrupy and a little bit overly sweet and overindulgent. It's a little overly romantic, so to say, which is fine. I think it works. There's like, I think like 3 explicit scenes, nothing too bad, nothing too awful, little light spice in my opinion, so we'll do 3 out of 5. Sounds about right. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the part of the video where we learn, did Percy get the honey witch from the library or not? And the answer is not. One is still at 3 weeks, one is still at 4 weeks, although my library has acquired 2 additional copies. So that being said, I bought it. It's really pretty. And while I was trying not to spend money on this video and wanting to make a point about you can enjoy a good number of books of many different genres in many different ways for free, and you don't need to have this overconsumption mindset of books. This is a brand new book and it feels like it's going to be a summer read, and I want you guys to know, is it worth being put on the wait list at the library now to read it in June, July, because that feels like the time where you're going to want to read this. So, and also I've been following Sydney Shields online since before this was published, so I felt fine buying it. I did buy the ebook instead of the audiobook, even though I desperately wanted to buy the audiobook so I could finish knitting, but the ebook was only 10 bucks and the audiobook was like 22. So, frugality aside, let's get into this. Let's go. Wait, hold on. I need to return. So I don't know how to return my Kindle book because I removed it from my library and now it's not letting me return it. I know the library is just going to take it back when the loan is up. It automatically goes, so that's fine, but we don't get the flowers. Pretend. Flowers, 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 flowers. Alright, onto the Honey Witch. Hi, back again. So I realized that I didn't read you the description of Honey Witch. The Honey Witch of Isnfree can never find true love. Innisfree? I-N-N-I-S-F-R-E-E. That is her curse to bear. But when a young woman who doesn't believe in magic arrives on her island, sparks fly in this deliciously sweet debut novel of magic, hope, and love overcoming all. How sweet. 21-year-old Marigold Claude has always preferred the company of the spirits of the meadow to any of the suitors who tried to woo her. Suitors? Suitors and wooing. I am on a suitor train right now. Don't say that. Any of the suitors who tried to woo her. So when her grandmother whisks her away to the family cottage on the tiny isle of Innisfree, with an offer to train her as the next Honey Witch, she accepts immediately. But her newfound magic and independence come with a price. No one can fall in love with the Honey Witch. When Lottie Burke, a notorious grumpy skeptic who doesn't believe in magic, shows up on her doorstep, Marigold can't resist the challenge to prove to her that magic is real. But soon, Marigold begins to care for Lottie in ways she never expected, and when darker magic awakens and threatens to destroy her home, she must fight for much more than her new home, at the risk of losing her magic and her heart. You know, I did not think that that's what this book was about. I'd been following it for a while, and so when you're following a book online, you see a lot of those, like, quick clips. You see a lot of, like, sales pitch things. The one that I came across, this one, was the Grumpy X Sunshine, and then 13 Taylor Swift references are supposed to be present in this book. I just remembered that as I'm holding up my Taylor Swift sticker. But yeah, so those are the selling points. That plus the Grumpy X Sunshine plus, I want to say magic tattoos, something with tattoos that I can't remember at this moment in time. But so those were like the glimpses of what I saw online is what drew me to this. And now reading the description, I don't know if I would have picked it up.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
So we're gonna see how it goes. I read the prologue so far. I read the prologue and I was like, oh, this might be something totally different than what I originally thought. But yeah, it's listed under sci-fi and fantasy. Interesting. I hope there's swashbuckling of any sort, honestly. And then also, there's a little bee at the chapter titles, which I think is cute. So, saying no even 13 times is not enough to avoid tonight's ball. Yeah, I saw ball and I was like, hold on. I thought this was slightly more modern day and it's not. And I don't know how I feel about that. I think it's fun. I'm here for a good time. But yeah, just took me by surprise. Anyway, we got more carriage things and we got more ball things to do, so let's rock. Okay, so I am only 21 pages into this. I am 6% of the way through. And oh my god, it's kind of a slog, which makes me sad because this is one of the books that I was actually genuinely very excited about. It just feels like every line is meant to be like this profound thing. Like every line is meant to be like a marketing hook to get you to read. And it's like, come on, like we get it. And there are some lines that I really like. You know, she's talking about age. Her mother loves to remind her of her age as if it's a reason to stop believing in magic, that she's growing old, and that she's like a spinster because she is older in this story and she's meant to like have been married and she's not valuable because now she's old and ugly. She's like 25. She rolls her eyes at the thought, yes, she's a grown woman, and is that not magic in itself to have survived this long despite the world's penchant for beautiful dead girls? Marigold has grown up surrounded by the poets who propelled the narrative, how romantic to die young, unstretched, unsullied, without ever outgrowing the part of the ingenue. But what happens when the girl keeps living, when she ages proud and defiantly without abandoning imagination or stories or the secrets to wish to find the magic wherever it hides? Well, then the poets would call her a witch. It is better to be lost in a beautiful daydream than trapped in a dim reality. Okay, like, I don't know what it is. Like, I like that passage. I genuinely do, but it's like, what? And it's not the same feeling of what when I was reading This Is How You Stop, This Is How You Lose the Time War. Like, that one, I felt kind of overwhelmed because I wanted to spend more time with it, and, you know, I had to, like, give in to that urge to want to spend more time with it. This, I just feel like it almost feels like she overused the thesaurus. But it's not like certain words that are jumping out. It's like certain passages that jump out and you're like, did you overwork that? Like, I can't tell if this is a stylistic choice, if this is just how she writes. And I think that might be the case. But yeah, like it's just, that's how everything is all the time. All the time. And I love words. Like, literally my tag for this is like, damn, these words go hard. Like, I love words. And so at first I was like, oh, okay, give me this imagery, give me this like juicy, give me these juicy morsels to like chew over and to think on. And then it's like, okay, there are just so many to the point where it's like, are these words starting to lose their meaning? Have we lost the plot, or are we just using big words because we can? You know, and again, I don't know if I've just read too many books recently, you know? Yeah, I don't know. The flow is just weird. The flow is weird, and I don't fully have the words as to why. Is it pretentious? Is it a stylistic choice? Am I a little burnt out on reading? I don't think so, because I've been having a really fun time up to this one, and I was actually really excited for this one. Did I forget that it was like another period piece? Yes, I did. So reading like 3 period pieces, but also at the same time, I could go watch all 3 seasons of Bridgerton and have a great time. You know what I mean? So I don't think that's what it is. So, I don't know. Yeah, sometimes it has this really, really beautiful flow where I'm like, ooh, yes, there's a melody here. And then sometimes like, and I'm like, why are we doing this? What's going on here? And I don't know how to describe that. It could just be me. But what is this is not a completely transparent view onto how I digest the books I do. And if you're in the comments saying that, like, man, imagine if someone read your book like this. I wish someone would. Rip me to fucking shreds. Do it. I dare you. My book's free from my birth week, from June 24th to the 28th. My book is free. Read it. Rip me to shreds. I would love for you to do so. Because I put work out to be ingested. Ingest it, throw it up, shit it out. I don't care. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel weird. These words aren't worded in the way I wanted them to word. Hey, hi, I'm only a couple pages later. I'm on page 32. So I'm officially 10% of the way through the book. And I think the problem I'm having is that it's a lot of like telling and not showing. Like our girl Marigold is supposed to be like this weird outcast. But at the ball, we just see like this one dude who really likes her. We don't see anyone really be mean to her. Like maybe her ex-fiance, but that's also her ex-fiance, so that's like expected. We just keep being told that she's strange and that she's odd. And it's like, make her be strange. Make her strange. Do it. Have her eat flowers in the middle of the ballroom. Just off the cake. Just do something weird as hell. Like, or is she strange because she's gay? You know what I mean? These are the questions I have. And also, within those few pages, since I last updated you, we've learned about ash witches, honey witches, the curse on the family line, that her grandmother Althea, her grandmother Althea made Marigold's mom, Raina, out of just pure magic. She just Jesus that shit. Virgin Mary that shit? Anyway. Immaculate Conception. And that every eldest daughter has magic powers. That honey witches are like the signal for life, and ash witches are the signal for like rebirth and death, essentially. And they're supposed to work in tandem, but they're out of tandem. And it was just like a lot all at once. And that like Althea needs Marigold to come with her and to come, you know, you've been a witch this entire time. We've always been witches, all of us. Your mother forsake her power to fall in love, and now you gotta come with me. And we're going, with the two of us, with our powers combined, we're going to reinforce the force fields around Isn't Free, and that grandma has already made a layer of protection on Isn't Free, and now they're just going to reinforce it to make it extra safe while they wait for her archenemy and maybe ex-lover. There's no hints to that. I just think that'd be fun. Well, I kind of wait for her to die. And I'm like, that was a lot in a very short amount of time. And I think that's my problem, is that there's these beautiful moments of really wonderful wordsmithing and imagery and really juicy decadent words, and then just info dump, and then a little bit more juicy decadent things, and then you're just telling me all these random things. And we're seeing this from a third person point of view, so we're not seeing it, you know, it's not first person through Marigold. We are following Marigold's point of view, but it's in third person, and it's just odd. It just feels odd. Like Marigold herself doesn't feel like a real person, honestly. We're told, oh, she's strange and she's odd and she's a wild woman and she's one with nature and she thinks of herself as a season, and she's only really feels at home laying in a meadow under the full moon while it's raining. And it's like, that's fun concepts. Yeah, it was just, it's just a lot of telling, not a lot of like showing. A lot of flowery language with maybe not a lot of like substance, and I think that's the issue I'm having. And now that I've kind of jumped that hurdle, it's like, oh, okay, this is what we're in for, sick, let's go, you know, because again, it's fine. I can say all these things and I can, you know, critique it all I want, and I can nitpick, and I can, you know, really like pull it apart thread by thread, but at the end of the day, I just want to read a fun story, and it feels like the story is finally going. It's less verbose descriptions of things, and now it's just finally moving. So page 30 at the 3:59, not, but let's fucking go, my dude. Let's see where this takes us. Really interesting that also the opposite of honey is ash. I mean, I guess technically, but it almost feels like the opposite of plants should be ash. You know what I mean? Like, what kills bees?
According to Architectural Digest, mix water with vinegar and place cups of this solution near the nest. Vinegar fumes will start to kill the bees as they attempt to drink the water.
That's not what I meant. I meant to find, like, what is bees' natural, like, enemy? Who is the bees' natural enemy? Large animals, bears, skunks, a honey badger, wasps, ants, hornets. It'd be really funny if it was like a honey witch, an ant witch, dirt witch, sandwich. Now that we all know where we are and like the medium of which this story is being told, let's just jump into it and see where this story takes us, okay? Okay. Thank fucking God. So this entire time, Marigold's been driving me insane. She's been going on and on about how, like, stupid it is to, like, want to be married. Not for love. Again, not the idea of, like, it's stupid to fall in love, but it's stupid to, like, want to be married. I want a husband. You know what I mean? She thinks that's really dumb. And it's been insufferable to listen to. And, like, I went back and checked like the promotion for this and it's like, oh, after suffering a heartbreak, and I'm like, she's not heartbroken, she's just annoying, she's just obnoxious. Like, yes, she broke off, or she had an engagement broken off with what's his face, I don't remember his name at the very beginning, because he found out that she's strange. One, we haven't seen her be strange, and two, it didn't even seem that she liked him. Because like when she talks about him, she talks specifically about like how she misses that like the protection he gave her, because he stood up to people who were mean to her for being strange. We still haven't seen her be strange. Or like the social credit she got for being with him because he was like one of the most eligible bachelors, you know what I mean? And like that's what she missed. People didn't look at her strangely anymore. And it's like, what? But to her that's heartbreak, and so now she's like sworn off the idea of marriage in general, and I'm like, those two things don't correlate. That's not what heartbreak is. And like, I understand the idea of like, I ignore my hair, her not being interested in men, and so only equating the relationship and the things that she liked from that relationship not being the guy. Like, I understand that, and like I understand what the book's going for. I just don't think it's done very well, because she just comes off really dumb and obnoxious and like really judgy, which I don't like. And so like a woman comes in asking Althea for help, you know, she needs help to get this man's attention, and you know, they make her pretty lipstick to make her feel nice. And Mary laughs and she's like, oh, I thought we were making a love spell. And Althea's like, no, we don't do anything that would affect someone's free will. That's just not how we roll. And after June leaves, June is the woman who ran in, after she leaves, Mary is like, oh my god, she's so ridiculous, like, oh my god, look at me, I just want a husband, primping and it's just like making fun of her. And when her grandmother doesn't laugh, she's like, well, isn't it funny? And her grandma's like, no, I don't think it is. And I think you would do well to remember that, like, it's not your job to dictate how a woman lives her life, that her choices are her own. And I'm like, thank fuck, dude. I was getting irritated. Ugh. Thank fuck. Because god, Mary's pissing me off with all that. Because again, like, that's the thing. It's like, if that's not your path, go right on, buddy. It's not for everyone, and that's totally fine. Live your fucking truth, my dude. Like, and like, that's what matters, is this idea of choice. And she like belittles this idea of love, but all at the same time like wanting love. And it's not this like thought-provoking thing as much as it feels like a conflict of interest. Like, she laughed at June, literally laughed at June for wanting a husband, but then the night before she jumped into this pool of water, letting it caress her like a lover's embrace, and for a moment she let herself imagine it was. And I'm like, you can't, buddy, you're too old for this. Because she's supposed to be a spinster. She's not. And I think here's what's getting me, is that this is like 13-year-old behavior, and she's not 13. I think that's why this is like bothering me. She's 21, and what? So and I get this idea of like being repressed and not like having life experience to be grown. But it, like, I don't know, something about it just ain't working for me. Something about it just ain't working for me. She just feels kind of annoying. And yeah, like, even for a 21-year-old, she feels very young. Just thank fuck for Althea for, like, kicking her in the ass, being like, no, don't be a bitch, don't be judgy. Like, even, like, the book so far feels like a series of montages. I'm just being told things that are happening, and I'm not experiencing them happening. They're just happening. Like, you know, when they arrive to Halloween Town, because I don't remember the name of the town. This book is based, the beginning of this book is basically Halloween Town fanfiction. Like, it follows the beats exactly. Feels like little cartoon cutouts. Anyway, no, when they arrive to Halloween Town, Mary runs into, like, a kid that she used to play with growing up. Immediately she steps off the boat and he's immediately right there. By chance. Okay, cool, whatever. But they meet and he introduces, like, this is my friend Lottie. This is my partner such and such. Partner as in boyfriend? Unclear. Business partner? Unclear. Who knows? And Mary, her only thoughts of Lottie was that, how am I supposed to think of anything else when there's this gorgeous girl around? And I'm like, what about her is gorgeous? She has red hair and she's wearing a green dress that's like, it's a long sleeve and it's velvet. Okay. But then when talking about the partner, how he has, like, a straight upturned nose as if he was born to look down on other people. And I'm like, that's a really snap judgment for someone who just said hi to you. You know what I mean? And I don't know. A lot of the book, the magic, feels like, I just know best. It just feels like intuition based. And I don't know if this is a stylistic choice that I'm just not getting with, but it feels like a lot of aesthetic, not a lot of substance. It's a lot of beautiful flowery language that sounds really nice, but I don't know what's actually, like, going on. I'm being told what's going on, but I'm not experiencing it with people. I'm just being told. Okay. Again, it feels like a series of montages, and I'm on chapter 9. I'm about to start chapter 9. So, also, I gave in. I bought the audiobook. So now I have the ebook and the audiobook of a book I don't like, and that doesn't feel good, personally. I didn't pay for it. I did pay for the ebook, but I didn't pay for the audiobook because I used my Audible free trial. Not sponsored, but Audible, I promise I'll learn your name. Please sponsor me. I don't know. I'm not feeling it so far, but I'm gonna finish it. Because we fought to be here, so we're finishing this. It's done. Oh my god, it's done. It's finally done! Oh my god, this was a slog. Oh my god. Okay, so The Honey Witch. I finished it, finally. I did it. Proof. I did it. It took me longer to read that one book than it did every other book. Everything else I could knock out in, like, a few hours in a day. Oh my god. I had to fucking play The Sims and get the audiobook in order to get myself to finish this book. Like, I have been struggling to get this book done, and it's just a fucking slog. Oh my god. And I don't want to say the writing's bad. I think the writing's good, and I think with a different editor this book could have been so much better. My camera is about to die because obviously it is. Hold on. I don't fucking understand. Because, okay, so I enjoyed the writing. I think Sydney Sheil is a very talented author. I think the way that she can paint pictures with words is very nice. Beautiful prose. There was no substance to this book. And I know this is a pandemic that let's not use that word. I know that this is a trend that is happening that a lot of people are suffering from, you know, with, oh, every new book I read feels like it's written by AI. Oh, every new book I read feels like it's hollow. And I don't think that this book suffers from that. I want to make that very, very clear. I don't think that this book suffers from that. What I do think is that because a publisher saw that this went viral, and because the publisher saw that this got a lot of interest, strike while the iron's hot, get it out as quickly as possible. Again, I don't know if that's the case, but this needed another pass. It just needed another pass because the actual story, it just disagrees with itself. Like, it's just not there. Like, it's all aesthetic. It's beautiful. There's a vibe. There's no logic. There's no reason as to why someone's doing something. They're just doing it. We might as well be watching a montage go by and you'd get the same amount of storytelling. And it sucks to say that, because I think with a different editor, I saw a review, because I looked up reviews for this halfway through, because I was like, am I crazy? I really don't like this book. Am I insane? Is this just me? And no, other people are having the same problem. I saw a lot of 5 stars from people who got arcs, and I saw a lot of 1 stars, people reviewing it the first week. And I saw a review that said, with a more mature editor, this could have been really good. Because it could have been. And I think because Sydney Schultz is such a talented writer, because she has such a way with words, she needs someone who will challenge her on an actual story structure, on character work, on character growth, on how human beings work. Because this just didn't make sense. Like, there's one moment that really stuck out to me, like, in particular, that I wanted to talk about, which is, when Marigold, I've listened to audiobooks, so if I say things weird, it's because I've been listening to an audiobook with an accent for the past, like, 2 hours. But Marigold, she reunites with a friend that she had when she was younger and would go visit her grandma, right? His name's August. And they used to play together all the time. Again, she didn't live there. Keep in mind, she did not live there. She did not live in Iceland Tree with her grandmother. She would just come to visit every now and then. Up until the age of 6, 7. Where they got whisked away for some reason. Someone tried to kill her. So she got whisked away, and she never saw him again, and they did not keep in contact. And then later on, they reunite in their 20s. She's 21. When they reunite, she says that, like, their friendship is so strong, they're just gonna pick up where they left off like they always did. That's the type of friendship that they had. Girl, you haven't talked to this man in over 15 years. What are you talking about? You're not the same person, and he's not the same person of when you were 6. If you were, that's a problem. You don't have that type of relationship. Like, it's moments like that that just feel so unbelievable, that just don't make sense. And it got frustrating to read, and I'm very heated right now. But it just got frustrating to read. And I also want to pop in here and just mention about how this book doesn't make sense. The curse also doesn't make sense. The honey witch is cursed to never fall in love. The point of the curse is so that the genetic line of the honey witches dies. Grandma did immaculate conception, no problem. So it didn't work. But not only that, no one can ever fall in love with the honey witch. Benny, who's like the local farmer that lived on Isn't Free and would like help Grandma Althea, he loved her dearly. He refused to leave the island most of the time because he loved her, because he wanted to make sure that she was safe because she lived alone. He would come and bring her food. He would come and spend time with her. He'd come and hang out with her. And he vocally spoke about how much he cared about her, and she vocally spoke about how much she cared about him. So how can no one fall in love with the honey witch? They're in love. And then there's like this weird moment of like when Grandma Althea dies, Benny is like, I just remembered I've been in love with her this whole time. And it's like, yeah, you have. Why do you think you're here? Why do you think you've been taking care of her granddaughter as if it was your granddaughter? He literally says, you're like a granddaughter to me. Not only that, but with Lottie. Lottie and Marigold, they fall in love. They care about each other. They want to spend time together. They ache when they're not next to each other. That's called being in love. And oh no, the curse is working, because when they kiss, Lottie like gets a headache, and she almost dies. Okay, it's not that she just gets a headache. She almost dies and does die at one point. And Mary revives her. Whatever. but those feelings are still there. They still ache to be together. So is this book telling me that love is only physical, only when it's kissing, only when there's sex involved? And again, I don't want to feel like I'm bashing, because I know a lot of people, like, I've seen this everywhere online for a very long time. Like, people have been wanting to read this book. I wanted to read this book so badly. And for it to be so disappointing, I was like, damn, that sucks. It sucks. And again, I don't want to bash on the author. I don't want to bash on the author at all. There's nothing but respect for Sydney Shields. I struggle to understand how a book in this state got a 6-figure deal. You know what I mean? Which isn't something that she has hidden. That's something that's been, like, part of the advertising for this book. And it's like, good for you. Get your bag. Absolutely. But fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it just, I don't know. And, like, for this to be the book that I paid for, oh my god, I broke. I was so excited to read this. And I wanted to get out for the video because I was like, it's the perfect green book. It's really exciting. It's a new release. Oh, it's going to be perfect. Lesbians. And I bought the ebook, and then I started an Audible free trial. Not sponsored, although they could be if they wanted to be. But I started the free trial to get the audiobook because I was like, okay, maybe it's the ebook, maybe it's me, like, maybe I'm just having a hard time reading it. And the narrator for the audiobook, oh baby, she did some heavy lifting. She was good. She was good. And it's the only thing that kind of made this palatable after a while, of, like, just these weird choices and this weird, like, theming. Like, it's just really weird. We're being told things, we're being shown something else. Like, at one point at the very beginning, Mary is like, she's heartbroken over a man and supposed to be the driving force that leads her to go with her grandmother. Do you know where I learned that? On the author's Instagram. Not in the book. Because in the book, she just mentions that she misses how he made her feel. Like, the social credit that she got from him picking her. But that he ended up breaking up with her because she was strange. Strange how? I don't know. Never says. She's a wild woman. She's a wild woman. She just runs into the forest at night, and, like, that's what it feels like. It feels very pretentious. It feels very, like, edgelordy almost. And it's like, oh man, you are too good a writer to be writing this amount of substance. Fuck. And then to have this theme of, like, choice. This thing of free will, of you cannot pick someone's choices for them, they have to do it themselves. And then in the same breath to have this idea of fated soulmates. Like, you have your one soulmate and that's it, and the second you meet, you guys are going to be in love. That's not choice. You know what I mean? Like, if that is the case, which is what this book is telling me, because, you know, she does a spell for her best friend, August, to find her, for him to find his soulmate. And he has a one true fated soulmate that it's gonna lead him to, and that's who he's gonna spend the rest of his life with. Does he have a choice in that matter? Oh, you choose to go and look for them. What if you just run into each other? You know, like, that's not choice then. Love is a choice. To fall in love with someone, to stay in love with someone is a choice. And I love the idea of fated soulmates where, like I completely understand the romantic notion of there is someone out there that is for you, that is meant for you, that you are meant to fall in love with, that you are going to spend. I love that. This just does it poorly. Oh, I just feel bad. I am on my period, but I just feel bad because I wanted to do this video to be like, oh, you don't have to spend money on books. You don't have to. Use your library. Such an untapped resource for you to be able to have books without this idea of overconsumption. And then I got so engrossed in this idea that I had of this rainbow of romance that I went against that, and I spent money, and now I own this book in 2 different forms, and it's the one book that I didn't like. My heart. She is broken. They really can't all be winners, my dude. And if I had waited the 4 weeks, I still think there's still a 4-week wait for the audiobook. If I had waited the 4 weeks, I would have been disappointed, but not nearly as disappointed as I currently am. I've been dreading reading this book for days. I started reading it, and then whenever I wanted to pick it up and I think, oh, I need to finish that because I really want to get this video out because I'm really excited by this idea. Oh, I should pick it up. My insides would just kind of shrivel up and die because of how much this book just sucked. I was dreading. I was so excited to read this book, and now I'm dreading to read this book, and now I am sad that I finished it. I've never had a book like break my heart like this in such like a disappointing way. Do I have to unfollow her on Instagram?
Hi, me again in the same shirt from 3 hours ago. So what did you think? This video was a beast and a half to put together and to edit, but I had so much fun doing it, so I hope you guys also had a great time. And if you didn't, lie. So it's been a couple weeks since I filmed those clips. Again, editing takes way too long when you don't know what you're doing, but that means that I've had more time to really formulate my thoughts of what I think about my ratings. And so now I feel very confident presenting to you the final list. There's going to be no animation for that because I already did the rainbow. I'm not doing another one. I'm not. So, starting with number 7. To no one's surprise, The Honey Witch. 1 star, and only because of the beautiful language. I hate this book on a personal level, and I'm going to make a video about it where we're going to learn to make honey cake together. And I'm mostly doing it because it feels like a really good medium to talk about some other topics that I really want to cover in the book community. It just feels like the appropriate vessel to do that. And plus, everyone loves a rant review. Don't pretend you don't. Number 6. This is how you lose time more. Star rating? To be continued. This is only this low because I didn't finish it. However, what I did read, I absolutely love. And the entire time I've been editing this video, I've kept it on my desk as like an incentive that I finally get to read it and take my time and read it on a beach listening to the crashing waves while I do so as a reward for finishing the video. Number 5, most ardently at a solid 3 stars. I enjoyed this novel, but a lot of the small details have since left my brain as they did not make enough of an impression on me to leave a dent. But I do have to say I did enjoy having a good, slow afternoon, enjoying a low-stakes, feel-good romance story. Number 4, Tentacles and Triathlons. 3 stars for the fucking charm. There's no reason that this book should be as charming as it is. This is a story of overcoming prejudice and finding love in the most unlikely places and getting a tentacle shoved up your ass. The duality of man. Yes, I have now read the entire series. Yes, I did enjoy them all. And yes, I have bookmarked the next one coming out. Apparently it's called Tentacles and Trimesters. And I saw a title for a 5th called Griffins and Games. I can't wait. Number 3, Wild Things at a 3.5. 0.5 solely because the Rachel reveal fucking gagged me in a way I cannot put into words. I adored Elle. She is me and I am her, but Ray felt like a nothing burger and I refuse to apologize for that. Number 2, I Don't Want You Like a Best Friend. I Don't Want You Like a Best Friend. 5 stars. It had me giggling and kicking my feet, and I live for tomfoolery. I can't wait for the next one to come out in August. I'm so excited for it. And number 1, to no one's surprise, Felix Ever After. 5 stars. I adored this book. I didn't think it was going to be number 1, mostly because it's a YA novel. In the sense that I thought I was going to relate more to the older characters, you know, the ones closer to my age. But the writing in this is so good. The nuance, the care, the heart. It's funny. It's a fucking good book. It brought me to tears while reading. It brought me to tears after. It could bring me to tears now if I really sat here and thought about it, but I'm not going to because my makeup looks good today. Also, the audiobook narrator is a young trans man of color, and I love that attention to detail. Yes, we love to see it. Ugh, it was so good. I had a great time. I have read some of the best books I've read in a very long time doing this. I read some of the worst books I've read in my entire life doing this, and I had a great time. Either way. And with that, our rainbow of romance has now come to a close. I hope you guys had a great time. I had a great time. If you've read any of these books, leave your review down in the comments. I love responding to comments with my whole heart. If you think that there are books that I should have read in this challenge, leave them down below. We're going to be doing more of these. I think it's fun. And one final reminder, my book is free June 28th, 2024 to June 24th, 2024 to June 28th, 2024. I hope you pick it up. I poured my heart into it. Subscribe, I guess.